The nodes of fate, karma, and destiny. The nodes of the moon, also known as Rahu and Ketu, are now in the signs of Aquarius and Leo. For those of you that are fixed signs, this is about to be a whole heap of good stuff and some challenges too. I want you to think back because we haven't had this particular transit of the nodes, the north node into the sign of Aquarius, the south node into the sign of Leo, since 2007 through to 2009. So I want you to think about it. What was happening for you at that time in your life? Who were you then? What were the challenges that showed up for you? What were the blessings that were unfolding for you in those specific areas of your chart? Were you even into astrology at that point? I can tell you a lot of people that I know really weren't. So it's really interesting to see how far the world has come in that short, and it feels like a short space of time, right? So with that said, my name is Raphael. If you are new to my channel, this is Radiant Reality. Welcome. You are among friends. If you are a continued subby, you know Raphy loves you. And if you are a continued subby, and if you are one of my very wonderful members, I thank you so deeply and humbly for being here. So obviously, we're here to talk about the nodes of the moon. It is a wash and a buzz in the astrological community at the moment, and for sort of good reason. The nodes of the moon, Rahu and Ketu, are also known as the points of fate, karma, and destiny. And what they tend to do, or rather, it's because of the nodes that we actually have eclipses. And so whenever we're talking about these two changing signs, they are always in opposition to each other and they always come in pairs. So wherever you have the south node, that's at the moment in the sign of Leo, you will always have the north node in the sign that's right opposite it. So now we have entered the time where Leo and Aquarius are being activated. Now, this is a pretty big deal because this time round, we have something that wasn't happening the last time that we had this transit. We've got Pluto newly in the sign of Aquarius. We've got Jupiter newly in the sign of Leo. And so when you think about these two real power player planets, right? Jupiter is the biggest planet in our zodiac. It's the biggest, most gravitas energy that we have, right? It's actually the principle that protects us from any and all foreign bodies coming in to sort of strike the earth and take us out. And then on the opposite side of the heavens, we've got Pluto, the lord of death, destruction, but also secrets. I like to see Pluto as the hidden power, the hidden potential. And when I say the hidden potential, I mean it's quite literally the deep power that is stored in something that you never really get to see unless you absolutely plumb the depths. Now, when we think about these two signs, Leo is the sign of celebrity, the sign of kings and queens, right? Whereas Jupiter is the planet of such things, celebrities, kings, queens, but it's also the lawmaker. Jupiter's about integrity, it's about growth, it's about spirituality, it's about deep spiritual knowledge, it's about gnosis as well. Leo in the chart is about where we shine, it's about where and wherever that Leo part of your chart is, it really is about how you are meant to shine, how you're meant to bring your own personal light into the world. And then you've got the South Node in that sign, right? The South Node being a draining point. Now, I'm going to talk more on that in just a moment. The South Node is also an excretion point, a draining point. It also represents the principle of what we are releasing because we've transcended it. Then you've got the North Node over in the sign of, so Aquarius represents freedom. It represents the people. It represents the commonality that we have. It represents the future, right? If Leo is a traditional sign, then Aquarius is absolutely opposed to that. It's what's new, what's avant-garde, like the internet, Wi-Fi. Those are no longer things that are Aquarian. Why? Because when they were brand new, when they were just coming in, right? Like at the start of the millennium when the internet and dial-up, oh my god, I'm showing my age now, and the greys obviously, right? Because who remembers dial-up modem? Hello, kids nowadays will never understand, right? Having to download an MP3 and hold your breath at the last 10%, because if your parents picked up the phone, you weren't getting that download and you had to start all over again. All of that aside, Aquarius is what's new, what's avant-garde, what's different. It has that Uranian kind of element to it. And the fact that the North Node is in the sign of the people, right? The fact that the North Node is an expansion point. It's what grows. It's what we move towards. It's what represents a focal point for what your soul is being pulled towards in this lifetime in some way, shape, or form. The fact that it's in a sign that represents the people, the group associations and ties, right? Very, very similar, but not the same thing as the 11th house. Aquarius is also, being a Saturnian sign, it is a sign of what is different. And this is a time where the North Node being in the sign of Aquarius is going to highlight and it's going to have us all celebrating what is different about us, but how those differences can absolutely bring us together and they bridge the gap. So this is a really interesting time, right? And the reason I think that this is so powerful is I want to talk about the nodes themselves specifically, right? So when we're talking about the South Node, it's in the sign of Leo, the sign of kings and queens and celebrities. It's got that regal sort of internal shine, that internal fire. It's ruled by the sun, the king of the zodiac. But more importantly, when you think about this, and I always say this, like if you know the sign of Leo well, you know that there are actually two. I mean, if you know any of the zodiac really well, then you know that there is a duality in each sign. There are two types of Leos. You've got yourself, myself, a Leo rising, right? Who's a little bit more theatrical, a little bit more outspoken. But then you have what I call the silent dignity types. And you can tell, right? They're not really overstated or flashy, but they hold like an inner sort of regality about them. Honey, my surname is Rey, okay? Like literally Spanish for king, right? The fact that I'm a Leo rising goes a very long way. I definitely have my moments of reservedness, obviously not on this channel. And if you're here for that, sorry to disappoint. Jokes aside, what I really am trying to get across here is, as I say, wherever Leo is in your chart, this is where you're meant to shine. But we've got the South Node. Now, I don't see the South Node as just, oh, we're moving away from that. That's what we're getting rid of. Do I think there's going to be less celebrity culture? Yes. Do I think we're going to be moving away from that kind of model of things? Yes, absolutely. I want to give a shout out to Adam Ellenbass, who mentioned this idea that we are, we're going to start to see the right way to be an influencer and things like that. He gave a really good talk on his channel. Go and check it out. It was amazing. I tell you who else I think did a really good job was Ksenia Moore. Is it Ksenia Moore? I don't know if it's more, but Ksenia. Anyway, she's on YouTube as well. I think her talk was really good. It was a bit doom and gloom for the Leos. I'm hoping to bring something that's a bit lighter than that for us, just because it was a little bit heavy. And, in all fairness, when you think about the nodes, right? So the story goes that the nodes were once, so if we think about a dragon that's been split in two, right? And so you've got the head of the dragon, which has a head and a stomach. So it's insatiable, right? It just wants to eat and eat and eat. And why? Because it can never be filled. Right. And then you've got the tail of the dragon, which is a stomach and, a poop chute. Right. And basically, there's this constant feeling of being emptied out. Now, let's talk about this for a moment. Right. I don't see the nodes in just those ways, though. And the reason I say this is because when you look at somebody's birth chart, I've done many, many birth charts at this point, as many of you know. Those of you that have had readings with me, shout them out in the comments if you love them. And the reason I think that the South Node needs to be considered in some different ways is what I've noticed in my own chart, what I've noticed in client work that I've done is the South Node doesn't just represent what you're letting go of in this lifetime. It represents what you've already mastered. It represents what you've already done really well. It represents what you are ready to transcend because you understand it, your fate, your karma, your destiny, your collected wisdom that sits within the very depths of your being and your soul is now at at your disposal in this lifetime to use as a tool set, as a set of skills for you to master and head towards the North Node in your chart. And so the way that I like to explain this is, you know, when you see the swimmers in the pool and they do like a flip over and then they kick off of the wall to swim in the opposite direction. The South Node provides the foundation on which you can launch yourself towards that North Node. And so it's a really important point. And so the South Node being in the sign of Leo, a sign that really leads from the heart, that is about shining your authentic and true light from your heart space, and it being something that you've already mastered, but also something that you're letting go of. We're letting go of the flashy, shiny object stuff just for the sake of shining. This is about true leadership. It's about really leading from the heart. It's about being able to say, I'm going to say this, I'm going to share this, I'm going to perform this, but it has to move me and it has to move the people that I'm creating it for. Otherwise, what is the fucking point? When you go to watch a film, listen, if I'm watching a rom-com, if I'm watching a thrill, like whatever the film is, I want to be moved, right? When I see something happen on that screen, I want to cry, right? I want to feel those tears. I want to feel that emotion. If it's something that's supposed to pep you up or get you motivated, I want to feel like I'm going to walk out of this bloody theater or, you know, finish watching that YouTube video and I'm going out of here and I'm going to lift like a 750-pound barbell, right? I would actually break something and probably end up in the hospital if I tried that, but I want to feel like I can do that. Right? And that needs to come across. And so this idea of performance, I don't think is something that we need to let go of. Leo rules creativity, it rules art, it rules creation, it rules children, it rules anything that has that element about it that makes your heart race, that makes you feel like you're alive. And that's really, really important. But the South Node is getting rid of all of the stuff that's on top of that. All of the stuff where it becomes inauthentic just to sell you something. All of the stuff where it becomes a performance rather than something that you are shining and sharing from the heart space. This is why we're seeing at this moment in time, there's this massive thing across all of the platforms and stuff about unedited content. And, you know, people just want to seem relatable nowadays. Well, stop performing fucking relativity, stop performing it and just start being relatable. Now, I'm not saying if you're wealthy or famous or rich that you have to get rid of all of your money to be like everybody else. What I am saying is there's a real need to be able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. There's a real need for heart-based leadership. There's a real need for true fucking empathy in the world at this moment in time, I think more than ever. And so this is what we're going to see, right? This idea that of people just leading for the, you know, because I said so, because I was born to it, because I have the divine right to rule. All of that stuff is going away now. It's being washed away. It's being phased out, right? It's just not going to cut it anymore. Surprisingly, there are a set of celebrities who have been very, very quiet. Why? Because they know that that stuff is being faded out. It's the same with certain types of world leaders, etc. We're going to see a lot of that as well. I've made a few predictions about stuff like that, so you can go back and watch my 2026 year ahead videos. They're sort of sprinkled throughout all of those. So then we've got this North Node, right, moving into the sign of Aquarius. Well, the nodes are now shifted, right? So what is Aquarius? Aquarius being the 11th sign of the zodiac. It is an air sign, not a water sign, and it is the sign that represents the group, that represents the people, that represents humanity as a whole, right? If Leo is the sun and it's the heart of the individual, then Aquarius is the individual within the group, right? And they really do have an overlap. If you see, you know, the other thing about Aquarius energy, it's very focused on humanity as a whole, not necessarily the individual, right? But the individuals that make up the whole, the groups, the group associations, the group ties. It represents the people, the common man, but it also represents the future, the futuristic vision or the hope of humanity and where that might go. And the fact that the North Node, which is an amplification point and a a real powerful drive that pushes us forward. It feels insatiable. Wherever Aquarius occupies within your chart, you're going to feel a need to go in that direction. You're going to feel a need to do things different than you've ever done them before. You may even feel or experience some kind of loneliness. Oh my gosh. I can tell you, as an Aquarius sun with a Leo rising, right? I am the ultimate juxtaposition, right? And I don't say that to be like, ooh, look at me. I say it because I know, and I've always known, I am my own worst enemy and my own best friend. I can tell you so many times when I look back and I'm like, dude, you fucking love to get in your own way, don't you? And I'm telling you this to show you that I understand this dynamic on a very personal level, and that North Node energy being in the sign of Aquarius and amplifying the Aquarian energy. If there's one thing that all of us Aquarius, don't come for me in the comments. I'm about to share some tea, right? I'm about to share some tea. And one thing that Aquarian people will never really let on is that actually, everyone, we make jokes about it and the stereotypes and the generalizations, and everyone always says, like, oh, Aquarius loves humanity but doesn't like people. And, there's all of that stuff going on. Like, yes, that there's an element of truth to that to a degree, absolutely. What I will say though, especially when it's dysfunctional, what I will say though is Aquarius loves people. Aquarius loves to be connected to people. Aquarius loves long relationships. This is something that people really don't understand about Aquarius people, sun, moon, or rising. Give us complete freedom within the confines of the relationship, and you will have a loyal Aquarius for as long as you want them. Aquarius loves to be in a long-term relationship because they're like, fuck it, I've got my thing, my person, and this is right, and we're about to get all up into what that could be. Anyway, all of that aside, the thing that I'm going to share with you is there is a loneliness due to a feeling of the strangeness within Aquarius that we don't talk about enough. And the reason a lot of the time Aquarius is far ahead, because we're futuristic, we live in the future, we're always chucking around concepts, playing chess, doing this, figuring this out, seeing trends and all of the pattern recognition and all of that stuff. We're in the future, right? But that feeling of being ahead of your time, it's not always a nice thing. That feeling of being, the alien of the zodiac, it's not always a nice thing. That feeling of feeling really different to everybody around you, that feeling of a little bit more loneliness, right? Think about the pandemic, social distancing. Do you remember that, right? Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. Do we want to talk about that? Well, now we've got the North Node there. And so, really and truthfully, on the plus side, yes, we're going to see differences celebrated because we're going to celebrate those differences as a collective. But there may also be bouts, periods, and moments where we feel really isolated, where we do feel so different from each other that we think, wow, am I ever going to be able to fit in here? Right? There's those thought processes really do happen with Aquarius energy. And so this North Node in this space is pushing us as a collective towards the future. It's pushing us as a collective towards understanding that, what? We're not all the same. No matter how much we would like it to be so, we're not all the same. There are different races, different sexes, different people, different ideas, different, energies, different, just different everything. And look around you, right? So this is the one thing that Aquarius really does understand really well. Everybody's out there fighting race, gender, politics, blah, 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 the this, the that, and everyone's got something to say. This religion says, oh, well, that's sin, and da da da, and that religion says, well, this is this, and this group of people and race say that, and all the rest of it. Well, what's the one thing that we all have in common? The earth. Hello. What's the other thing that we all have in common? We were all born, even those of us by C-section or whatever the case might be, you were all born. And what's the other thing that we all have in common? We're all going to die. And to take that even further, guess what? We are all here. What does that tell you? Right? What does that tell you? Every religion, every spiritual path, etc., they all agree that if someone exists on this planet at a specific time, they have a purpose. There are different races, there are different sexes, there are different sexualities, there are different genders, there are different people, there are different collectives. Da, 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 da. They're all here, which means in some way, shape, or form, they serve a purpose. And that purpose may only be to show us that there is a difference in all that exists, to show us that the difference is the thing that really should bring us all together. We've got one home, this earth that we all live on. We're all born, we're all going to die. Look at the commonalities that we have, the different expressions of what life can be. Some people have pink hair, some people have only two limbs, some people were born with learning difficulties, some people have neurospicy, right? Like, it doesn't, it's just think about the breadth of the different shards of what life can be and become and inhabit. And it shows you that really we are a collective, right? As a human race or species. And as long as we understand that, I think we're going to be heading in the right direction. Now, a few interesting things are going to happen this year. Well, certainly over the next 18 months as the nodes move through these signs, right? The first one that we want to talk about is the South Node is going to conjunct Jupiter in the sign of Leo at the tail end of the year. So, for those of you that don't know, last year I did 2025 was the compass. Stay tuned. I've got something just as good coming for you this year. I'm so excited about it. The compass was amazing, and I worked really hard on that. And the people that I worked with as a part of the compass, even they were like, yeah, this is awesome, dude, right? But I've taken that, I've learned, I've listened, I've reiterated, I've refined. And what I bring this year is, I mean, the compass was good. It was really good, but the what I bring next is whole next level, and I'm really excited about it, especially with the way that the world is developing. One of the dates that I flagged for them way back in December of 2025 when they had their session with me, they had a 3 hour one-to-one session, planning, refining, looking at the things that they wanted to achieve, all of that good stuff. One of the dates that I highlighted to them was November 15th, 2026. Jupiter, Mars, and the South Node are all going to come into a triple conjunction in the sign of Leo at the tail end of the sign. Excuse me. And that's going to be a pretty powerful moment. It's also a moment of juxtaposition. Jupiter is expansion. Jupiter is growth. Jupiter is abundance. It's luck. It's opportunity. Jupiter is knowledge. It's wisdom. It's spirituality. Jupiter is protection. Jupiter is divinity. It's the planet of kings and queens in the sign of kings and queens. But it's coming into a conjunction with a point that represents what we release or what we launch away from when we take the knowledge and the information from that South Node. What we've learned in the Leo part of our chart is now being revealed for the rich knowledge that can launch us into a new destiny in some way, shape, or form. On the opposite side of this, we have Pluto at the start of Aquarius. What do you think is going to happen when the North Node, an amplification point, comes into contact with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius? I think this is the power, really. I mean, I said this way back when. I don't know if you'll be able to find the video, but in 2016, I made the prediction to say that the true age of Aquarius would be when Pluto re-entered the sign of Aquarius, right? I said that in 2016. It's now 2026, so a decade ago. And here we are, right? Look, I'm just remembering myself back then and all the things that are different since then. And now here we are. Pluto is in the sign of the people, right? And so this is the power, Pluto, in the hands of the people, Aquarius, coming into a conjunction with the North Node, that massive amplification point that accelerates in a specific direction because it hungers for what is new, what is different, what is going to create the most change. And this is in the sign of Aquarius. Now, both of these are fixed signs, but this North Node conjunct Pluto, the planet of power, the planet of secrets, the planet of money. And we're talking, so when we're talking about Pluto, we're talking about real money. We're talking about fuck you money. We're talking about millions, billions, big, weighty, chunky, meaty sort of money. All right. Pluto, the word Pluto comes from the word plusis, comes from the Greek word plusios, which means wealth or money, right? And if you've been with me long enough, you've heard me say this. If you've had a reading with me of your chart, I say this to everybody when they're like, oh, I'm having a really horrible Pluto transit. And I'm like, dude, Pluto is not adverse to giving wealth. It's really not. But it cares what you care about. Right? Like you can't say like, oh, well, the TV told me that I should be a millionaire. And Pluto's like, when Prince chucked Kim Kardashian off stage? Loved it, right? It's like, get out of here, girl. What are you doing? Right? Like, that's Pluto. When you say to Pluto, like, I want to be a millionaire because the TV told me that that's what I should be chasing, or social media says that this is the lifestyle that I should have. You know what? Get out of here. Go back to the drawing board. When you know who you are, come back. All right? Well, look at this. The South Node is stripping away all of the bullshit, all of the inauthenticity. It's stripping away what really is not us. And the North Node is implementing that Aquarian nature. I'm going to find the grit to be who I truly am. And if that makes me an alien, if that sets me apart or makes me different or any of the other stuff that comes with that Aquarian vibe, then so be it. And the second you decide to tap into that energy to say, okay, you know what? As the song says, this is me. At that moment, Pluto is going to say, okay, little one, now we're going to give you the wealth, right? Because it's going to come from a place that is truly authentic. It's going to come from a place where now I know what you actually care about. And when you speak to a lot of people, so what does this mean? Pluto, the planet of true wealth, in the sign of the people, coming into a conjunction with the North Node. Finally, I think things are about to be a little bit more equal because the whole world has woken up to the fact that there seems to be just a few people running away with all the fucking money. It's not going to cut it anymore. It's just not going to cut it anymore. I know I've been such a potty mouth on this video, but it is what it is. All right, so the I think that's really a good enough rundown of the nodes of what I think is what we really need to know. Now I want you to apply that to your own chart, right? Now, when I say apply that to your own chart, where do the signs of Leo and Aquarius reside in your chart? Remember, whenever I'm talking about astrology, I'm talking about whole sign tropical Western astrology, especially for collective readings like this, it's just so much easier. All right. So make sure you get that information to hand while we get into the next part of this video, which is going to be all about you. And all about the nodes, obviously. All right, so with that said, stay tuned while I pull them up. All right, so here we are going to get into the breakdown of the nodes in the signs of Aquarius and Leo for the 12 signs. So for you should I say, before we get into it, remember, these are, whenever I'm looking at astrology from this perspective, I'm always using the whole sign tropical Western astrology. You want to make sure that you're looking at your ascendant sign first. It's always going to be the most accurate for you on the day-to-day level. And then you're going to be looking at your sun, moon, and rising, and just paying attention to what's really coming up. All right, so with that said, before we start, as always, you can't see it yet, but before we start, as always, I would like to bless my deck of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise, and they help us all on our paths to our highest vibrational good. So Aries, sun, moon, and rising, the nodes for you The North Node is going to be in the sign of Aquarius. The South Node is going to be in the sign of Leo. So for you, the North Node is going to be in your 11th house, quite literally, of group associations and ties. But remember, the 11th house is also your... It's what I like to call your future orientated house. This is your visions, goals, hopes, and dreams for the future. So you might start to envision a bigger or a higher destiny for your life. You might start to get really excited by the prospect that actually there could be something out there that calls you so much bigger, so much better, so much, you know, that's really pulling you forward in some way. The 11th house is also benefactors, so important, helpful people that could come in to really support or help you in some way. The 11th house also represents your political leanings, the group associations, the people that you are tied to. It's also your wider social network. The 11th house is a social media house as well. So you might decide now, right, that something about your social media presence, or maybe you want to build an online presence, and you might feel a real sort of powerful urge that's taking you in that direction. And yet this South Node here in this 5th house, so, and we're going to talk about some of the aspects in just a moment, but the South Node here in the 5th house could see you really feeling like, okay, you know what, I'm going to let go of the fear of expressing myself in the way that I truly am. I'm going to let go or release, or I'm going to use my knowledge of creativity. I'm going to use my own bravery and the power, the determination, the skill that I have picked up through learning to be brave. I'm going to get rid of this idea that expressing myself to large groups of people is scary or wrong or bad or whatever the case might be. And so this axis in the chart, it really represents the self in the sense of your creativity and your self-expression, but also your group associations, and also your unique thread in the tapestry of humanity. Now, if you've got children, this could be a time where you're kind of seeing them become a lot more independent. And so you're like, wow, okay, well, if I'm not as needed as much here by my children, then maybe, just maybe, I start to focus more on my own future, my own goals, my own dreams and hopes and visions for what or who I could become in this world. Now, if you've got any planets at the tail end of, sorry, you can see a double cursor there. Let me see if I can switch that off. Okay, there we go. So I'm not sure if you can see the cursor, but if you can, then we're looking at Aries. If you've got planets at the tail end of Aries, I mean, whatever planets or wherever your ascendant degree is at some point in the next 18 months, the North Node is going to sextile your Aries house, and the South Node is going to trine your Aries house. So if you are somebody that is an Aries rising, sun, moon, or rising, you know, but especially ascendant, if you have Sag placements and Leo placements, you're going to be getting some of that grand fire trine, baby. Ooh, some juicy energy there, right? If you have Gemini and Libra placements, you're going to be getting that grand trine energy as well, right? So all good stuff to think about. If you've got anything in the cardinal signs of Capricorn and Cancer, this could be where things get a little bit tricky, right? But all in all, this I think is very positive. So I'm going to switch this. You can see the deck there. I love this. So just recently I was doing a recording for a client, and he asked me a question. He's a really wonderful client. He's a really nice human being. And so I was like, look, I know I shouldn't, because this is just a tarot reading, but I really need to look at your chart, and I don't know if I can do it here. And I discovered that I could do all of this inside this one program that I have, which is, as you can imagine, totally geeking out. So I'm so excited, right? So for your North Node, you've got the Eight of Wands, you've got the Knight of Pentacles, and you've got the Temperance card. So one thing that this North Node energy in the sign of Aquarius in that 11th house is going to do, I think this is going to bring some very deep spiritual healing I think a lot of you may end up taking some very powerful journeys. I think a lot of you are going to become a lot more connected to the earth and the environment. And I also think that a lot of you are going to chase some kind of new goal or desire that happens to come with something that looks like what I would consider like a license, right? So this could quite literally be something that you know, wait, it's like you have to take a test. You're going to be aspiring to do something at a much higher level. For those of you that are taking exams, tests, etc., this will go, you will pass this with flying colors. So your South Node energy, you've got the Emperor. That's interesting, isn't it? Right? Because that card literally represents Aries. You've got the Queen of Swords, and you've got the Three of Pentacles. So for those of you that have ever thought you're not smart enough, you're too old to return to school, you know, this childhood wound prevents me from doing this thing, not only are you reframing that, but you're breaking ties with the past in a way that truly allows you to step forward and express yourself. For a lot of you, what I'm really hearing here is everything that you've learned that is stopping you from truly being who you are is what you're about to release over the next 18 months as the South Node moves through that sign of Leo. I'm really intrigued by this. I've got so much to say. I will also say that somebody that you encounter, and it's really interesting that they would show up in your South Node sector, right? When really they're going to fulfill the purpose of the North Node, but they're doing this by, this person is going to take you under their wing. They're going to teach you. They're really going to teach you. And you might be like, wow, like you're a hard taskmaster, but it's not. It's because they're kind of saying to you, you're not a child anymore. I shouldn't need to baby you. Like, you are strong, you're capable. They're going to show you all of these things by pushing you to your limits in some way, shape or form, which I think is very, very exciting. So for the Taurus people, let me just switch this. So for the Taurus among you, for the Taurians among there, you are going to be having these transits in your 10th and your 4th house, right? So this is the this is a really interesting axis, right? Because the fourth house is your home, property, real estate, family, living situation. It's kind of where you come from. It's how you rise up out of the ground and how you you know, push. It's the foundation that you have that supports you building your public persona. 10th house is your public persona. 10th house is your career, your legacy that you're leaving behind in the world. This is also the parental axis. And so this could be, for some of you, maybe you're letting go of an ancestral home. Maybe you're moving away from your hometown. Maybe you are stepping out of and away from an area that you know. Maybe you're moving out of living with your parents. Maybe you're moving out of living, you know, maybe your children are leaving home. That's quite possible. In any case, whatever the foundation of the home was, that's going to be shifting over the next 18 months. And then, so the South Node also represents, in the way that I read astrology, for me, the 4th house is always mother, 10th house is usually father. And I've seen that play out a lot in people's lives. I have seen it flipped as well. It's usually like the most masculine presenting energy of your parentals will show up in the 10th, and the most feminine energy will show up in the 4th. Now, that being said, I myself am a very nurturing human being, right? I know that about myself. My friends all tell me the same thing, but I'm still a guy, right? So I would probably show up, if I ever have children, if I'm ever that lucky and blessed, I would show up as somebody's 4th house, I believe, right? Even though I'm not a mother. So it's just to show you how, like, it's not always like this is man, this is woman. Like, sometimes it's not that cut and dry. All right. Now, that being said, this 4th house is also your childhood makeup, the family ties and experience that went into turning you into who you are today. And that South Node, this could be where you're really addressing your childhood past, your wounds from that sort of era. It could see you, sorry, I've got a really dry throat today. He could see you getting really honest about what your childhood was or wasn't. That North Node in the 10th, you're going to feel this insatiable need now, this drive to build your career, to make a name for yourself, to change your social or even financial status in some way, shape or form. You may realize, right, maybe you do this through some sort of technology. It's Aquarius after all, but this could be where you say, you know what, I have to go in a different way to what I've been shown. I have to break away from what the family told me is the right way to live or the right model to live by, and I need to head towards what I feel in my heart is right for me. And you're going to feel this drive, you're going to feel this powerful push that's moving you forward to say, this is what I'm supposed to do and this is where I'm supposed to be. The 4th house, 10th house axis of eclipses is one of the ones that really packs a wallop, right? And so I say this because these are what we call angular houses in the chart. Whenever you have something in the 1st house, the 4th, the 7th, or the 10th, you really feel these on sort of a very visceral level. So you're going to feel this set of eclipses over the next 18 months. You're going to feel these things really driving you emotionally, really driving you from the external as well. You might feel like certain events are unfolding and you're like, wow, you know, like I'm kind of feel like I'm just being led by the universe, because in a way you are, but your intuitive faculty or your soul is responding to and aligning to the energies that are being permeated through the world via the nodes in these signs. Not to mention, my dear Taurus, you are a fixed sign, which means that the nodes are squaring you, right? So whatever placements you have in Taurus, and if you have any in Scorpio as well, this is setting up what we call a grand fixed square in your in which means this is going to be an incredible time of change. I mean, 4th house, 10th house eclipses are no joke. I say this to everybody, and not in a bad way. Yes, squares are challenging, but they always create powerful change. But as I said, when we have these in the angular houses, this is where you really see, like, this is where shit really starts to move. So let's see what the cards have in store for you, my dear Taurians. So for your North Node energy, you have the Death card, the Hierophant card, and the 5 of Wands, right? So we've got 2 5s here. 2 5s is a vigil. So I think this is going to see you getting really honest with where you are putting your focus. If you're into anything like manifesting, law of attraction, etc., I think you're getting rid of the guesswork and leaning fully into new habits, new practices, new ways of doing things, new ways to focus. I think you're going to start to quiet the noise around certain group, certain group connections, certain friendship ties that you've had. I think you're going to start to get really selective about curating the kind of life that you desire to have, and the things, or rather the input energy, etc., that you're using to really manifest that. What I will also say is, I do think that I do think there's going to be somebody that you really have looked at as an authority, somebody that you have looked up to, or even a specific version of yourself that you realize has brought you to where you are. You're getting rid of that now. Some kind of practice, something that you've really lent on in the past, something that you maybe really looked up to or revered. It's kind of like I see you saying now, you know what, it just doesn't serve. And that North Node is going to see you going in a direction that truly is all your own. Remember, the Hierophant card is your card, right? It was one of them anyway. And the fact that you've got it with the 5 of Wands means that there's some version of you that's like, you know what, why am I fighting to defend this version of me? It's just not important enough anymore. And do you know, if there's one thing that I've learned, and this has unfolded for me in the last 3 years, there were certain energies that were coming at me from certain people. And, you know, I did lots of protection work and all the rest of it. And then in the end, I simply said, I release you. There's nothing here. There's no stress. There's no malice. I don't think about you. I don't care about you. I don't wish you any harm. I don't wish you any good. There's nothing. There is just a void where you used to exist. And do you know what? From the day that I did that internally, energetically, I haven't even had a stray thought about those people. So really, really interesting stuff. Your South Node message is the Six of Cups, the Seven of Wands, and the Knight of and the Knight of Swords. So in terms of what you're releasing here in this fourth house, I think for a lot of you, this is where you are, like, especially where you've had problems or issues with parents. I think you're going to hand that stuff over to them. Not in a mean way, but I kind of feel like this is where you're saying, no, you know what, I know what my childhood was. I know what my upbringing was. That's the Six of Cups. I'm going to fight for the peace that I've carved out for myself. That's the Seven of Wands. And the Knight of Swords is kind of like you saying, you know what, I don't need to justify this or myself or anything to anybody. And I kind of feel like this is about you. For a lot of you, I think this is, you know, I've talked about this a lot recently as well. This is going to be the process where you start to reparent yourself, but not in like a, I'm going to mollycoddle myself because I deserve it. It's not about any of that. It's just about really taking a hard look at something to say, you know what? You as a parent had all of your own hang-ups, issues, problems, blah, 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 and that's not on me. And you know what? I don't need to have it out with you anymore because it's not really on you either. It just is what it is. What I also think is going to happen here as well is a lot of you are going to break ties with people, situations, and for some of you, even places that you are attached to. It's kind of like you saying, you know what, I'm not attached to them anymore. So interesting. All right, for the Geminis, let's move this forward. So my dear Gemini people, this for you is happening in your 3rd and your 9th house axis. This is a really interesting one, right? Because the 3rd house is an energy that you are very familiar with, right? The 3rd house is, I mean, certainly from a whole sign perspective, you're getting a whole sign sextile from the Leo South Node, and you're getting a whole sign trine from the North Node in Aquarius, right? But the 3rd house is your locality. It's your local environment. The 3rd house is your siblings. The 3rd house is your interactions with people on that very sort of day-to-day level. It's the websites that you visit. It's the conversations that you have. It's the local shop that you go to buy your bread and your milk. The 3rd house also represents your communication style. Now, you've got Leo in the 3rd house, which means communication is where you guys naturally shine. And this South Node energy is going to see you become really focused on being very clear about what you say. This is where, you know, Gemini, I will say Gemini never met a word they didn't like, right? But this is where you're getting rid of that need to have the golden tongue, to have the last word, to be the most witty in the room. It's being released now. You don't need that. What you need, it's kind of like you're starting to understand the quality of my words is going to have more power than the quantity of my words, right? I don't have to over-explain myself. This is where I think for a lot of Gemini people, actually, this is where you're going to start to really hone in on what your message is, what you have to say. The content that you're going to start to create is going to start being fueled more by your personal wisdom and gnosis. I think this is where you're going to start to really look at the interactions and the conversations that you have with people, because it's in Leo and it's the South Node. I think this is where you start to really understand who only really wants something from you and who actually, there are those people in our lives where you could pick up the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, I'm in trouble, I need you. And they would just be like, where are you? I'm coming to get you, right? Or even if they don't drive, I'm on my way, right? I'm coming to, I'm on the bus, I'm on the plane, I'm on whatever the fuck it is. I don't know if you've seen that TV show, The Madison. It was so good. There's a scene in that just like, I was like, because like, there are very few people in my life that I have like that, but I know who they are, right? And there's a moment where she calls her friend and she says, "Are you my friend?" And she's like, "I'm your best friend. What do you need?" And she says to her, "Before you say that, because I'm about to ask you something," right? And she says to her, she says, "I'm will be on the plane and I will be with you in the first thing in the morning," right? I'm not saying that someone's not a true friend unless they drop their entire life for you. What I am saying is that those of us that are that sort of person, that are that sort of friend, are few and far between, right? This transit of the South Node moving through the third is really going to show you who those people are, who pays you lip service, and who says, "I'm on the fucking next bus. I haven't got a car at the minute, but I will be with you. What do you need?" Right? You're going to start to become really aware of who those people are in your life. The South Node is you getting rid of superfluous information, right? This is going to see you purging, like, what is learning just for the sake of learning? What is, do I need these 15 books on, I don't know, whatever, right? Like you might start to really get rid of knowledge that just doesn't seem important anymore. You might get rid of software, you might get rid of different types of technology, you might go back to a flip phone. All of these things could be really possible at this time. This North Node Aquarius in North Node in the sign of Aquarius in the ninth house, this is you seeking to expand your mind, your knowledge, your personal wisdom of the world around you. This is you seeking a better, a more powerful, a more aligned, maybe really very different, possibly a little bit weird to other people, a different way of connecting to the cosmos, a different way of connecting to God, a different way of connecting to some form of belief structure. This could see you really feeling a powerful pull to create a belief structure, to create some kind of religious or spiritual experience for yourself that doesn't make sense to anybody else. This could see you saying, "You know what, the only way that I'm," like, you could literally, North Node in the ninth house in Aquarius, you could say, right, I need to go, like, let's say you were born in I don't know, let's say you're from like the suburbs of Windsor in the UK, right? Like the suburbs of Windsor, that's where all the posh kids live. That's what we used to say on my estate. Right, I'm a proper Britwell council estate, gritty, fucking number 50, I think it was number 51 or 52 of the worst towns of Britain. Like a proper gritty council estate mush. That's me, right? Born and bred. And, so let's say you're from the suburbs, right? And of Windsor, darling, which was not that far away from us, right? But the difference in economic status and, the way the place looked and the reputation that they had and all of that stuff, very, very different. And so say you're from that Windsor side of town and you feel this overwhelming push to say, I have to go to the fucking rainforest of the Amazon, not necessarily to do an ayahuasca trip, although it is the ninth house and it is Aquarius energy in that space, but maybe you say, I need to go somewhere that is so different from me that not even I would have expected to find myself in this place. I need to go somewhere that is so different that it's going to blow my mind wide open with new knowledge, new wisdom, new insight about how the world works, about who people really are, about how other people worship. If there were ever a time for you to travel, this is it, right? This next 18 months, I don't care what's happening on the wider world stage. Travel doesn't even have to be expensive, right? We've sold this lie on Instagram that unless you're in a 5-star resort, darling, that's not really travel. Like, fuck that. Take me to the back alleys. Show me where you can get the best kebab. Show me where you can get the real slice of pizza. Show me where people hang out and the old men play dominoes on the side of the street. Show me that, right? Like, when I travel, I'm not interested in sitting in a British-speaking hotel where everyone still speaks English. And take me to the places that are real about that place, because otherwise, what is the point? Anyway, soapbox moment. The other thing with this ninth house North Node, it's trying to expand you by trying, and you're going to feel this insatiable need. The ninth house is higher education. I would not be surprised to find out that a lot of you went back to school to finish a degree, to get a degree, maybe start some kind of PhD as well, very possible. Ninth house is also books, blogs, publishing. So you might start to remember what I said earlier about you're starting to get serious about the types of content that you're creating. That North Node in Aquarius of technology, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that a lot of bloggers, book writers, digital book writers, etc. all start really coming out of the woodwork. Maybe you start learning something about design architecture on and through social media, etc. Really, really interesting. So your cards, my dear Gemini, for this transit are dun, dun, dun. You've got the Nine of Swords, the Chariot card, and the Fool card. As I said, right, if there were ever a time for you to travel with the North Node in that ninth house, that Nine of Swords, I'm going to be really honest with you, Gemini, even though that North Node is trining your whole sign and the South Node is sextile to your whole sign, because the third house is the local environment. I think two things are likely possible for the Geminis over the course of the next 18 months. I would not be surprised to find out that a lot of you went back to school. I would not be surprised to find out that a lot of you emigrated, that you literally up sticks and picked up and just said, you know what? This place doesn't feel like me anymore. It's time for me to go. It's time for me to really explore who I am, what life has to offer me, and I can't do that in this place with all of these memories that represent who I once was versus who I understand myself to be becoming. And a lot of you might not even know what that looks like yet. I don't think anyone does. If I'm really, really honest, when I look at everybody, people that I look up to, people that I don't look up to, people that I love, people that I, really don't like at all. I'm human, and it's the same for me. I know a lot of people love me, and a lot of people hate me as well. Fuck you is what I have to say to my haters, but it is what it is, right? All of that aside, this tells me that there will be, and the reason I bring this up is because that Nine of Swords suggests that the thing that prompts this move, this travel, this big, huge, sweeping change that you initiate, Gemini, it may be a dark night of the soul. It might be something that really kind of presses a button to make you go, oh, okay, yeah. The South Node in Leo, you've got the Ace of Pentacles. That's a new job or a new home. You've got the King of Swords, and then you've got the Six of Cups. So the realm of the South Node in that third house, I think this is not only a new job, but I think for a lot of you, this is a step in the direction of the expertise that you always wanted to gain. I think this is a moment where you're like, wow, you know what? Actually, I've got all of those talents and skills that I never really used. And I always wanted to do this. And it's like you're kind of now saying, okay, you know what? I think I'm going to learn to do that thing. I think I'm going to learn how to step into that direction that feels right to me. An air sign person, Aquarius, Gemini, or Libra could absolutely have something to do with this. In fact, I think they're going to be your biggest supporter. And because the third house rules siblings, I do think that if you have a sibling, they may remind you of something over the next 18 months where they say something to you and you're like, shit, wow. So I'm going to give you an example here. I can't go into too much detail because confidentiality and all the rest of it, but basically I know someone who in their careers advice when they were younger, this is someone I've known a very long time, right? In their career, when you're younger, so when you're about to leave secondary school, they look at salaries with you and what job you might want to do and all the rest of it. Well, anyway, I remembered hers almost verbatim. And when she went for the job that she's currently doing now, it was in that field. And I said to her straight away, literally, this job is for you. You have to go in this direction. She was like, oh, I don't know. And I said to her, oh, do you remember this? And she was like, fuck me, Raph, your memory. And literally it was a reminder. So for you, Gemini, because it's the South Node in the third house, it might not be a friend. This could be a sibling if you have one, or somebody that fulfills that kind of sibling role for you. Maybe they say something to you over the next 18 months and they're like, they say this and you're like, oh my God, like, how do you remember that? And you're like, yeah, this is what you always wanted to do. And suddenly you find yourself or things just aligning to take you in that direction towards that path. Could be a very interesting time. For the Cancerians among you all, my lunar brothers and sisters, let's advance the chart. So let's put you on the ascendant. All right, so Cancer, the water signs. This could literally be, so, well, it's not could literally, so you have the South Node in the second house, and you have the North Node in the 8th house. So for you, this is the money axis. This is the financial axis. This is the money, the finances, the resources. Show me the money, honey. Now, you've got the South Node in the sign of Leo in that second house, right? So the second house is your money, your possessions, your income, your self-worth, your self-esteem. And so does this mean that your money is going away? No. Does it mean that there is, what I will say is this, having just come out of a second house, 8th house set of eclipses, if you're used to things being a certain way financially, this can bring some real discomfort because it changes things, right? What I can tell you though is that you're making, so this could be an income stream that disappears or goes away. It could be an income stream that changes or shifts in some sort of way. But then you've got the North Node in the 8th house, right? So the 8th house is other people's money, joint finances and resources, inheritance, taxes, loans, debts, chunky money, right? The 8th house is also things like investments, pensions, etc. Anything like that. That North Node being in the 8th house, if you've got an investment stash somewhere, if you've got a set of like if you've got a pension or anything like that, that North Node could really amplify this. It could really enhance that. And so maybe you start gaining more money from that instead of you earning a salary or, you know, earning money or maybe you earn money in a specific way. The 8th house is also things like benefits, grants, loans, all of that kind of stuff. So this could be coming up for you as well. Now, with that South Node in the second house, how you have related to yourself in the past, how you've seen yourself, your self-worth, your self-esteem, your value of self could really be going through a massive shift and a massive change. And I'll be honest with you, because I've just had this transit, right? So Virgo is my second house. And it's really weird because even though I did have moments where I questioned my own worth and my own value, I now have a greater sense of the worth that I bring to the world. That's what it really, really taught me. Like for a while, certainly in the middle of the transit, so because it's 18 months, so 6, 12, 18, that middle 6 months, I did have a period where I was like, well, you know, I don't really know if what I'm doing is valuable anymore. You know, there's so many content creators out there. Astrologers and tarot readers are 3 and 4 a penny. And like I went for a real moment where it was like, oh shit, okay, well, yeah, maybe I am not like worthless, but maybe what I'm doing, it just isn't as valuable anymore. And do you know what happened in response to that? I had so many clients, even ones from like the deep past, come back to me and say, Raph, if it hadn't been for this reading, Raph, if I hadn't heard you say this, or you gave me this reading in, like one lady, she was like, oh, you gave me this reading in 2017. And I wish I could say I remember all of them. Weirdly enough, though, I did remember some details from it. And it's weird because I swear like there's a cloud somewhere. Like if you're a reader, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Somehow, not all of it, but snippets of readings will come back to you. Even that one in 20, I'd forgotten about her. And when I got her email, she was like, you told me this, you told me this. And she said, at the time, I really didn't understand. And she said, I'll be honest, I was really skeptical. Just all of those stories, when they came back, that's what rebuilt my self-worth on evidence rather than just like, yeah, I'm so amazing. And because this is the South Node in the sign of Leo, this might happen for you. And it might be that some part of your ego is broken down to say, that's not what your self-worth should be built on. This is what it should be built on. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, the other thing is the second house is your gnashers. When I tell you, dentistry in the UK is fucking extortionate. And I tell you, honey, my wallet has barely recovered. Okay. Like, so if you've got problems or issues with your teeth, my advice to you would be get it sorted sooner rather than later, because you will end up paying for it. That North Node in the 8th house, the insatiable need to get back to intimacy, to sex, to excitation, to real intimacy. The 8th house is the primal house. It's sex, sensuality, it's the taboo, it's your kinks, right? If you have any, it's all of that kind of stuff, right? The 8th house is the sexy, kinky house. And I mean, boy, I've only just remembered, like, Cancer really is out here with Aquarius in the 8th house. I mean, not to say you a freak or anything, but... Okay, I see you. Alright, look, jokes aside, that insatiable need that drives the North Node, if you have been celibate for a period of time, this could be where you get back to being sexually active. If you have been, sleeping or dormant on your spirituality, this could be a time where you really go very deep into it. This could be where you reignite your sexual powers and prowess. It could be where you reignite your sexual spark, especially for those of you that are partnered. This could be where you reignite or feel that really powerful pull, because the 8th house is also the occult. So anywhere like tarot, your astrology, your numerology, hopefully you guys will be signing up for the next round of my tarot course with the North Node in the 8th in Aquarius. Like, if there were ever a time for you to study astrology, numerology, tarot, energy work, the I Ching, human design, all of that stuff, this is the time, right? Because you've got that insatiable need to know, to learn about things that are different, Aquarius, about things that are considered occult or hidden, the 8th house. North Node can also bring in inheritance. I really hope I'm wrong on that front, but yeah, this could bring, maybe somebody passes away. And because it's Aquarius energy, I think for some of you, you might be really surprised at who leaves you in inheritance. So this could be one that comes up and you're like, wait, what? You left me? Why? Like, you might be really surprised about it. Last thing to say with the 8th house, it was also debts, right? And so I've told this story loads and I'll try to keep it short because otherwise it's just going to be too long-winded. But the long and short of it is, when I was younger, my grandparents really helped me out a lot. And at the start of the transit, for probably about the first 12 months of the transit of my nodal experience, I got to really repay what I felt like were my debts to them at moments where it really mattered. And I tell you, I've never been so grateful for anything in my life than I was that. And so if there are people in your life that you look at and think, you know what? Yeah, I owe you, right? And it's not like I owe you, I'm going to throw myself on the floor and prostrate myself and, it's not about that. It's about this, right? It's just about this, to know, like, I can feel that it's discharged, right? Like that everything that you did for me, that you gave to me, even if it's not exactly the same thing or in exactly the same way, the bill has been paid, right? It's been settled, right? I can't explain it any better than that. I'm sure you guys are really intuitive, so I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So your cards for this transit, you have... Dun, dun, dun. All right. For the North Node, you've got the King of Wands, you've got the Knight of Pentacles, and you've got the Lovers. I mean, I said you guys were getting back to the sexy time, and I am standing by that. You've got the King of Wands, so usually a fire sign person, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. You've got this with the Knight of Pentacles, which means that the connection that you make, so if you're partnered, married, or in a long-term commitment, you and your significant other could really be reigniting your sexual spark in a way that feels almost, not even almost, in a way that feels really aligned, in a way that feels like, you know what, now I feel like we're understanding each other. And this could be a time where you're having some of the best sex of your life. Why? Because it's laced with true intimacy. There's a true feeling of like, I feel this person. When we connect on this physical level, like I feel like I'm, you know, just all the things. For those of you that are single, it could be a fire sign person that you're connecting with, but it could just as easily be this person makes you feel seen in a way that you maybe never have felt seen in this way. It could also be when it comes to your resources that you start to understand that some form or level of visibility is what's going to be needed for you in order to really accelerate your money making ability. All right. I got so much more to say on that, but I won't. Right. So that South Node in the second house, you've got the Page of Cups. Yeah, you've got the Nine of Cups and you've got the Three of Pentacles. This really, for me, is the epitome of what I said earlier. I think a lot of you are going to do some really deep soul searching around worth and value at this time. I think you're going to start to really understand what you bring to the table. But more importantly, I think this is going to see you understanding how all of your wishes either have been fulfilled or are in the process of being fulfilled. And I think for a lot of you, you're going to realize that the game of money has nothing to do with money at all. I would also not be surprised as well to find out that some of you are purchasing something that you never thought you would or would be able to. All right, so for the Leos, my lovely Leos, my ascendant brothers and sisters. Ooh. All right, if you are a Leo, sun, moon, or ascendant, this is a South Node transit through the first house. You currently have Jupiter in the first house. Now, everyone's talking about how when Jupiter moves through the first house, you can gain a lot of weight. When Jupiter moves through the sixth house, you can also gain a lot of weight. Now, one of the ways that you could get around this, because you have the South Node in the first house as well, so especially if you're an ascendant Leo like me, that South Node moving through the first house actually makes it easier to alleviate or to release or to get rid of weight. So actually you have a point here that could be really helping you with this. Now, that being said, the challenge shows up is that Jupiter is expanding you, the South Node is shrinking you. So it could just be for a lot of you that maybe you stay the same. It could also be though, and this is the hack that I have found, if you lean into some kind of physical activity and you use that to pour into Jupiter, not only can you alleviate the expansion, you know, like the bulge, the belly, but you'll also be able to really release or to get rid of to bring a lot more health in, right? And so if you're focused on doing, like, if the thing that you gorge yourself on is exercise, there's only one thing that can happen. If the thing that you gorge yourself on is burgers and chips while you're on the sofa every night, there's only one thing that can happen, right? Feed Jupiter. I know we say in astrology, we say you have to feed the moon, but Jupiter is a planet that loves to get fed. Feed him things that are going to enhance your appearance. Exercise. good rest, good quality food, less processed food, anything that has like a good sense of integrity about it, right? These are all things that you could lean into. The first house is you. It's your personality. It's the vehicle of it's your meat suit, as I like to call it, the vehicle that you navigate this world with. The first house is you, and that South Node is saying, get rid of who people told you were, right? But who were you before the world got involved and told you what you could or could not be? This is about getting back to that. This is about you shedding the pounds. I know for me, that's the battle that I'm on right now. It's Raphy versus the bulge, baby. All right, like this is, it's the South Node moving through the first house is also your ability to release or to let go of the idea of who you think you're supposed to be, the performance of who you think you're supposed to be. This South Node in the first house is basically saying to you, who are you now? Right? Not who have you been, who are you now? And more importantly, what do you have to get rid of? What version of you do you have to release in order to become who you know you are meant to be? In order for you to be, and I'll say as well, for those of you that are single, who do you need to be to attract the type of person that you want to be with? Now, I'm going to say something here that's going to be really controversial, and probably a lot of people are going to complain and come for me in the comments. And you know what? Quite frankly, I don't give a shit, because I understand this to be true, certainly for myself anyway. A lot of the time, people are like, I want a partner that's got this, and this. And it's like, are you worth the list that you're asking for? Right? Like, really and truthfully, and this isn't about like, oh, what do you bring to the table? Although that's a big part of it, right? A lot of the time when people are saying like, oh, I'm ready now, I'm ready to be in a relationship. And it's like, have you actually made any space for a person in your relationship? Or is it that you just want somebody to come in and basically fit into the life that you have right now? So you want everything to stay the same, but you don't want to do no changing. Well, that's not how it works. So if you really are serious, because this is the me-we axis, right? The first house is me. The seventh house is we, right? Seventh house is partnership, relationship, connection, significant other, all of that business, right? North Node in the seventh house, if the next 18 months, if you can't find a date or a partner, it ain't the world, Leo. It's you, all right? I'm just telling you straight up. That being said, what do you know? Like, what about yourself? South Node in the first house. What do you know? What version of you needs to be released now in order for a relationship to come in if you're single, or for the relationship that you have to truly go to that next level where it's more equal, Aquarius, where it's more equilateral, Aquarius, where it's more about we and us together as opposed to me, myself, and what I want out of the relationship and how I envision it to be. This is the time, Leo. Right, that first house is your personality. It's your physical body and your physical vehicle that you use to navigate the world. The first house is also your identity. And so this South Node moving through the first house, it's not just allowing you to purge weight. It's not just allowing you to get rid of different versions that other people have tried to force or project onto you. It's also allowing you to get rid of the masks that have kept you safe. And so yes, this can be very vulnerable because you're going to feel raw, you're going to feel exposed, and yet that version of you that is emerging is the version of you that can carry the relationship, that can carry the weight of truly being seen by the world as who you actually are. Why? Because the North Node in your seventh house is going to draw to you the people that are true for you, the people that are right for you, the people, connections, partnerships, relationships, significant other, seventh house, contracts, commitments, open enemies, even your competitors. When you do something that's truly authentic and you're out there shining and living that truth, you naturally gravitate, or rather people naturally gravitate towards you that resonate with your, you know when they say like your vibe attracts your tribe? This is definitely that. And what's really interesting is there's a film called Chef with Bradley Cooper, you know, like that super handsome guy that everybody's obsessed with. It's called Chef. And in that, he plays a Michelin star level chef. I don't want to spoil it, so I won't go into too much detail. But basically, one day he has a complete meltdown, and he ends up at his biggest rival's restaurant. And he says to him, "Get out!" And he just sits with him, right? And they have this conversation. And it's a really beautiful moment because it shows that even when the rivalry between two people, like there are people that I look at that I know, or maybe that I have actually, that I don't get on with. But when I look at what they do, if it's good, I'm like, yeah, you did that. Like, we're never going to be people. We're never going to be close. We're never going to be tight. It's not like that. But you know what? I have to give you your dues, boo-boo, because you did that thing, right? That's true competition. Not like, oh, I'm better than you. Like, all of that shit's for the schoolyard. Come on, right? Really? We're doing what now? Anywho, this North Node, this insatiable drive to partner up, to buddy up, right? To connect with people, especially on that one-to-one level. You're going to want deeper commitments, deeper connections now, right? This North Node is going to see you, right? I want me and my partner to have a similar friendship group. In fact, I want to go on double dates. I want to go on triple dates. I want to interact with people that have the same mindset as me. I want to interact with people that are different to me, but they're going to give me the challenge. I want to interact with my competitors. I want to work with people that actually I look at and think, wow, yeah, actually you're a bit intimidating because you're fucking good at what you do. You're going to grow from that, Leo. You're going to expand from that. This is the time to embrace everything and anyone that's different to you, to forge partnerships, relationships, connections, interactions with people that really can expand your horizon, because they're going to take you so much further afield than what you ever thought was possible. And it really is through the connections that you forge. There's one that keeps coming up for me. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to forge this damn thing, right? And it just keeps coming up. I can feel it. Like I'm obsessed with this, with building this partnership. And I'm like, dude, you have no business. Like you literally have no business wanting to forge this partnership. And yet it will not go away. And that is the North Node. That's how I know, because it makes me uncomfortable as well. I was like, really, Raph, you're going to do what now? You're going to approach who? And you're going to, like, really? And in the back of my mind, my intuition's like, yep. Right? Like, yeah, anyway. So hopefully that gives you some food for thought. Remember, the 7th house is also your, like, where you sign on the dotted line. It is your significant other. If you're single, in the next 18 months, you won't be. If you're partnered, in the next 18 months, you have a chance to really mend or enhance your relationship to make it better than it's ever been. This is where you're going to, especially because you've got Pluto in that 7th house. So this is you getting really serious about the quality of the relationships that you have in your life. Like this is you being really serious, really connected to, like, who are these people? Right? Who am I going to be spending this? Clients. If you have client work, I'm so excited for the clients that I'm about to start meeting and connecting with, because I can already see the change and the difference happening. And I know with what I have planned for the next round of the compass, oh man, I'm so excited for the people that I'm going to meet, right? Like it's just going to be, yeah, anyway. So for your cards, Leo, let's see what's coming up here for you. You have, so for your North Node in the 7th house, you've got the 4 of Pentacles, the Knight of Pentacles, that's been such an active card, and the King of Swords. So this North Node in the 7th is going to see you forging real partnerships that really go the test of time. The other thing that I forgot to mention here as well, remember, Leo, for you, not only is this the first 7th house axis, so the me versus we, but more importantly, to take this even further, what this really speaks to, in my humble opinion, is this idea, what it really speaks to is that the fact that these are angular houses. So right back at the start of the video, remember when I was talking to, I think it was Taurus that I mentioned this, whenever you have big transits to the 1st, the 4th, the 7th, or the 10th. These are what we call the angular houses, and they show up in very real world, very visceral kinds of ways. So this is going to be a big time for you, my Leos. And then those cards, let me pull them back up. So your North Node message in that 7th house, the partnerships that you forge now, they're going to be slow to get going. That Knight of Pentacles, right, with the King of Swords. This is you connecting with experts. This is you connecting and interacting with people that you're going to look up to and say, whoa, like, okay, like, and there may be a feeling, right? That South Node in the 1st house, the performance just isn't going to cut it, Leo. Right? Like, you're going to have to really show up. You're going to have to think about, who am I? What is my knowledge base? What is my skill set? What is my expertise? How do I make this fucking thing happen? By showing these people why I am the right person for the job, why I'm the right person to hire, why I'm the right person to follow, all of that. You're going to have to dig. South Node in the 1st house, you're going to have to dig into everything that you are, everything that you've been. And you're going to have to release the insecurity. You're going to have to let go of the fear of visibility. You're going to have to let go of all of the stuff that has held you back and say, this is worth knowing. This is worth seeing. So the people that you connect with through that King of Swords, they will be experts. They are going to force you to level up in a way that you probably never have, Leo. This is where you are going to have to deliver in ways where you're like, shit, like, actually, I don't know if I can deliver here, right? I mean, 4 of Pentacles with the Knight of Pentacles, you will deliver, right? Like, you absolutely will. But this is where that North Node in the 7th, you will be expected to deliver, and you'll have to build these connections over time. You're going to build these partnerships, relationships, connections, collaborations over time, and they're going to be phenomenal. Your South Node in that 1st house, you got the King of Pentacles. You will no longer be adorned. You will be stripped naked, and you will be re-established. I mean, there are so many things that I want to say about this right now. And I'm kind of shook, to be honest. Like, wow. Okay, look. The King of Pentacles is the most adorned of all of the kings, right? The highest expression of the suit. There's a lot of Taurus energy here. King of Pentacles coupled with the Hierophant, very likely to be a Taurus male or a Taurus person, sign, etc. But with the Star card, this is somebody that you either don't know yet, or somebody that's going to be a big part of your future. Because these represent the South Node energy in your 1st house or in the sign of Leo, the message here is you are about to be stripped back to all that you actually are versus all that you have put on as you know... Anywhere that you are presenting a version of you that you think people want from you versus the you that you actually are, that's all going to be stripped away. Look at the figure on the card, right? That's the thing with the Star card. The Star follows the Tower, right? The Tower is what strips you bare. And once that's done, you move into the realm of the Star. And when you are completely refreshed, completely reborn, completely renewed, this is where you say, this is me. Right? Like, I know who I am. There's a surety and a clarity there. And that Hierophant card suggests that there's a re-establishing of self, a new establishing of self in a greater capacity to build something that lasts. But it's the partnerships and the relationships that you forge now that are going to facilitate this. There's another reason that I'm shook, but it's very personal. And those cards are speaking directly to it. So I'm kind of a bit like, oh, okay. So, yeah, anywho. Moving on. Virgo. For you guys, let's move this forward. This is happening in your 6th and 12th house axis. Right? So the 6th and the 12th are very deep spaces in the chart. And if you've been with me long enough, you heard me say the 6th and 12th house is the health axis, right? So the 6th house is the physical health and vitality. The 12th house is the mental and spiritual health and vitality. And so the South Node in the 12th there, right, in the sign of Leo, is helping you get rid of any mental health challenges or issues. This is a great time to work with a therapist. It's a great time to work with a spiritual worker. It's a great time to work with a mentor to do some kind of really deep research. It's a time where over the next sort of 18 months, one of the things that I will say about eclipses in the 12th though, and they can be really tricky, is sleep. And so what I did the last time I had the South Node moving through my 12th, I built rest into my day. Because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to function. Like some days it was like 2-3 hours sleep, and I was like, right, I have to build this into my schedule so that and I was like, right, I'm working from this time to this time. From this time I'm having my nap, which was about 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on the day, right? Like it was literally a part of my schedule, so that way it was kind of like, okay, if it's built into the schedule, I know then that I'm clawing this back. The 12th house is your self-sabotaging tendencies, your bad habits, the things that you do that get you in your own way. This can be releasing those, draining those, but it's the South Node, right, which is knowledge and wisdom that you've collected over a lifetime. This could be where you finally start to understand, like, oh, okay, like when I'm pressed into a corner, I do this, and the reason I do that is because of that experience that I had. And now that I know that, I can take that energy and completely bypass all of the bullshit where I get in my own way, make myself ill, make myself unhappy, make, all the things. And I can finally take the power back from that. So Leo in the 12th house, another way that you could see this, because the 12th house is about where and how we retreat from the world. And so the South Node there, you might feel like there is no sanctuary over the next 18 months. It's like, no matter what I do, I'm kind of always on stage. No matter what I do, I feel like I constantly have to perform. No matter where I go, I feel like, and I will say as well for Virgo people, this is something that I've observed actually. Of all of the earth signs, I think you guys are very similar to Aquarius. There seems to be like an overlap between the signs. Maybe it's because your ruler in modern astrology is exalted in Aquarius. Maybe it's just because there is a kinship there, right? There's a focus or a dedication to the duty in some way. And the reason I say this is because that South Node moving through the 12th, I kind of feel like there's this... With Virgo, it's almost like, I'll make sure everyone else is okay first, and then I'll tend to my own needs. And that South Node moving through the 12th might be saying that need that you have to not be on stage or to not be visible or not to be seen, that's what's being released here. Because Leo is where you're meant to shine, right? 12th house is behind the scenes. Well, what if you could shine out front instead of behind the scenes? What then, right? What happens then? Okay, so yeah, this could be good for you. Another way that you could see, so then you've got the North Node in the 6th. So the North Node can sometimes have a similar energy to Jupiter. They're not the same thing, but there's definitely, there's a few overlaps there. And so what I will say is, if you're going to do any form of exercise regime, etc., do group classes, right? It's Aquarius in the 6th. Go to a group class, join a running group, join a Pilates group, join a federation or whatever. Like, do something in a group that allows you to enhance your health. 6th house is your physical health and vitality. 12th house is the mental and spiritual health. So the South Node is a very spiritual energy, and being in the 12th house, this could absolutely be a time where there's a lot more focus on your spirituality. Whereas that North Node could, and cause the other thing as well, because as I was saying earlier, 12th house is your dreams, but it's also your, like, I always say that the 12th house is the 12th house is the space in the chart in which your door to connect to the other side resides. All right, and so because it's an intangible house, there's nothing material in the 12th house besides your boudoir, darling. And so you might find that your intuition really gets heightened through this transit. That North Node in the 6th, I've seen people gain weight with the North Node moving through the 6th house. I absolutely have. I've also seen the health improve with the North Node in the 6th house. It could also be that because remember the 6th house is burdens, challenges. The 6th house also represents employees if you have them, so your business could be growing, expanding. That could be really nice. Your responsibilities at work could also be expanding. Maybe not so nice unless it comes with a pay rise. I mean, it is trying to your 10th and it is trying to your 2nd, so it's quite possible. But your responsibilities could expand. The amount of employees that you have could expand. The amount of people that you're in charge of. You could be thrust into a leadership position in some way that you really don't expect, and everyone's like, okay, well, we're going to look to you to support the group or to lead the group. That could come up for you. The 6th house is also pets. So if you haven't got any fur babies, this could be a time over the next 18 months where you're gaining one. The other thing with the 6th house as well, this can represent, it's like the maintenance that we have to do to have or to keep the life that we have or that we desire. So, this could be like the paying of the rent or the paying of the mortgage, right? Those things that are recurring bills, baby, that show up every damn month. No matter, like, you knock one down, there's another one to take its place. The other thing with your 6th house being your physical health and vitality, if you've had problems or issues with the physical health, this could expand them or enhance them, but it could just as easily see you saying, right, I'm going to gain as much knowledge and information as I can on this thing so that I can move beyond whatever the issue or the challenge is. All right, now the final thing that I want to say on this front is the 6th, 12th house axis of eclipses is not easy. All right, that's not to say that it will be bad. It's just to say that it's not easy because we're balancing one house that's really super tangible, very visible, very real, sort of every day. North Node in the 6th house with Aquarius. You're being asked to really look at your habits, your patterns, your routines, how you use your days, how you spend your days, right? This could also be, because it's Aquarius, that North Node there as well. Maybe at work, maybe they're like, well, it is a 2-person job, but unfortunately we've only got one employee and that's you. So, like that, not a guarantee, but it's possible. There could also just be a feeling of isolation, right? With that lonely sort of Aquarius energy that sometimes shows up. All in all, I'm intrigued to see how this is going to go for you. But yeah, I'm interested. I'm invested, let's say. So your cards for these are... For the North Node, in your 6th house, you've got the 6 of Swords, you've got the Sun, and you've got the 7 of Swords. So don't convince yourself that you can't have a holiday. Don't convince yourself that whistling while you work makes it easier. Sometimes what makes it easier is clocking off, going home and putting your fucking feet up. Okay? Let's keep it, 100, right? Let's keep it a buck, as they say. What I also love about this, though, is that 6 of Swords with the Sun card is basically saying, if you really want things to improve, you're going to have to let go of you're going to have to let go of the lies that you have to do it all yourself, that it has to be done the hard way, that it has to be like wherever it is that you are telling yourself that something has to be a burden. And what I mean by that is that it has to be done the hard way. This is what you're being encouraged to let go of. What it also tells me as well is that the location, or because the 6th house is also our environment as well, it's our wider environment. Like if the 3rd house is your local shop and your neighborhood, the 6th house would be like your town, right? And so whatever's happening within that town, obviously inadvertently in some way, shape or form, you are going to feel. Honestly though, even though these are not these are not travel houses, I mean, the 12th house is actually a travel house. It's foreign and international affairs and or people. So I do wonder. But this is for your North Node, right? So that 6th house, your world is expanding on that sort of day-to-day level. And your South Node in the 12th, you've got the King of Cups. So the intuition is growing with the Page of Pentacles. Nice. And the Two of Cups. So really, this is telling me that partnerships, connections, collaborations, and interactions are going to be really important. Your international and your local connections, the bridge between those two things is going to be you. And it's important to put focus and information and energy there. All right, so love this for you. What I will also say is, because the 12th house is the past, you could find yourself reconnecting with a water sign person, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, from your past. This person could be an old partner, could be an old business partner, an old work colleague, etc. And it will be interesting to see how this shows up. So you're going to have to let me know in the comments. So for the Librans among you, just change this. So Libra, for you guys, this is happening in your 5th and your 11th houses, only this time versus Aries. So Aries has this the opposite way around. So you've got the South Node in the sign of Leo in your 11th house, and you've got the North Node in your 5th house, right? So how does this work differently? Well, as we talked about, the South Node is the draining point, but it's also the foundation from which you launch into something else, right? It's where you go in, it's where you really gather your wings under you to transcend what you already know, to go in the direction of what you don't, right? And so that North Node in the sign of Aquarius in the 5th house. Well, what is the 5th house? It's your children. The 5th house is if you have them. Now, if you don't have children and you're like me, then your business is your baby, right? Like the things that are what you pour your heart and soul into, growing into, creating anything that you create. The 5th house is your self-expression. 5th house is luck and gambling. The 5th house is also your self-expression, right? Your sense of style, your sense of flair for the dramatic, darling. All of those things. The other thing is, because you've got Aquarius in this space, you might see love and romance in different ways. And because the North Node is the expansion point, it's that insatiable, voracious hunger that we have. The 5th house is also joy, pleasure, romance. This might be a time, in fact, the next 18 months is absolutely the time for you to date up a storm. This is where you're going to have fated connections, karmic connections even, and you're getting a whole sign trine from this. So if you've got any placements in the sign of Gemini as well as in the sign of Libra, aside from just your ascendant, although that's still just as potent, right? You'll be getting that grand trine energy, okay? And then on top of that, you've got Pluto in this space as well. So there's a lot going on. Now, this could really enhance your sex appeal, absolutely. Remember, so, because when we talk about sex and the taboo and the primal, we often think about the 8th house. And the 8th house is absolutely that. But the 5th house is the joy, the pleasure, the romance. It's the butterflies. It's the, tickling each other and the, the cheeky little kiss when nobody's looking. It's all of that stuff. All the stuff that you do when you first start to date someone, when you get the butterflies and they make you giddy and all of that kind of stuff. That's very 5th house. And so this North Node may see you wanting that. Now, if you've been with me long enough and you've ever had a session with me, you know this. I always say that if you want the 7th house, right? Nowadays, everyone's like, I want the ring. I'm not happy. I'm not doing this whole casual dating thing, or, I want the marriage. I want the house. I want the kids. Well, how do you think you get there? Unless it's an arranged marriage, it's very rare that you go right to the wedding, right? You have to date. And what's interesting to me about this is, because although the 8th house is like those deep, primal, sensual, sexual bonds, whereas the 5th house is like romance, it's, a little bit of swagger, a little bit of enjoyment, a little bit of pleasure. It can absolutely be very sexy and sexual, and it is all of those things, but it's not like the 8th house is those deep, intimate ties, right? Where it gets really, steamy. Whereas the 5th house is a bit lighter hearted than that. Anything that makes your heart race, right? So activities, hobbies is the 5th house as well. Maybe that is your hobby, right? The reason I bring this up is because this North Node energy has that voracious kind of feel to it, and it wants, you know, it really wants to go after something with its whole heart. You might find that that's really just what you want for the next 18 months. Like if you're single, you might be just, you know, and everyone's like, oh, you know, you're dating up a storm. Like, isn't this number 5? And you're like, well, okay, I don't, you know, you might not necessarily want the commitment at the moment. Yes, I realize I'm speaking to Librans, but you might just, you know, you might not really want all of that. You might just be really into this idea of, you know, getting together, connecting, doing all the things and enjoying, but not necessarily much more than that. The other thing with this as well, this North Node in the 5th can absolutely see you have that hunger to create something of your own, to start a personal business. You may feel luckier than you do usually. Like this could give you an unbridled sense of optimism. So do watch out for that. It could absolutely see you creating something in the technological sphere. It is Aquarius energy after all. And it could also see you, like the North Node moving through the 5th, this could absolutely be pregnancy time, right, over the next 18 months. So if that's something that you want or you're looking for, something to consider. Now, that South Node in the sign of Leo is in your 11th house. So and remember, the South Node is not only what we're letting go of, but it's also what we're launching away from. And so you may have built a whole bunch of things and desires and dreams and goals. And now this South Node is really going to say to you, why did you actually want that dream? What was the thinking behind it? Was this to show somebody that one day I will, like if it's all of that, if it's just for show, if it's for, you know, if it's a hollow promise to make somebody else stop and look at you versus this is what I want with my whole true heart, then it probably won't come to much, right? Or it will just fall away naturally. If you know, the 11th house is benefactors as well. So you might find that you start to connect to, this doesn't mean that suddenly all your friends or all your benefactors are going away. What it does mean is that the quality of those benefactors and friends versus the quantity of them is absolutely going to shift. And my feeling behind this is that South Node is really going to say to you, like, you'll come into contact with people who really are very spiritual, that get you to see and understand, like, yes, this is what you want with your physical, tangible, earthly self, but does it really serve a higher purpose in your life? Does it serve to make you a better version of yourself in some way, shape, or form? The other way that you could see this as well, because the 11th house is the group associations, you might cancel subscriptions, you might cancel group connections, anywhere where you interact with a lot of people or you connect to others in some way, shape, or form. You know, all of that sort of guilty by association stuff. You might decide that you go on a social media cleanse or a purge over the next 18 months. Always always recommend doing that. Just recently I came off of Instagram, my personal Instagram that is, for like 6 weeks, and you know what, I didn't miss it at all. It was, you know, I can't remember, I went back on there because my friend was like, I sent you something, I really need you to see it. I was like, okay, fine. And now that I'm there, right, I'm back in the scroll hole. Jokes aside, you know, you could go through periods over the course of the next 18 months where you're like, yeah, you know what, actually, I don't really want to do that anymore, or I don't feel like I resonate with these groups or they with me anymore. This could see you really focusing on what matters to you that much more over this time. So for your cards, you have Temperance. So this is for the North Node. You've got Temperance, the Eight of Cups, and the Nine of Swords. So this could really see you maybe stepping out of your comfort zone with the type of style that you sort of demonstrate. It could also see you getting really serious about the healing that you're ready to do. And, you know, sometimes the best way for us to heal is to be present in the experience that we're having. And the 5th house is absolutely an embodied house because it's about the unbridled joy. It's about the joy, the pleasure, the romance, the creativity that we can experience. And, you know, sometimes the most spiritual thing that you can do is to create something. And so, you know, when I see these, it could also for a lot of you, maybe you decide, you know what, enough with the heavy. It's time to do something that is more fun, that is more creative. It's time to find my own sense of, self-expression, joy, pleasure, and all of that. The other thing is, because it's the Eight of Swords with the Eight of Cups with the Nine of Swords, which suggests that this will, even though it's the North Node, this suggests that there is something that you are choosing, that you're actively choosing to leave behind. And I feel like, so for one thing, for a lot of Librans, is you guys tend to get into those situations where you play piggy in the middle, right? It's like one person's got this gripe, the other person's got that gripe, and they pull you into it to settle the whole thing. I think this North Node in the 5th house is like, you know what? I'm going to make more time for myself instead of having to mediate between you guys all the time. For your South Node, you've got the Hierophant card with the 9 of Cups and the 8 of Pentacles. So 2 8s. 2 8s represents new knowledge. 2 9s. 2 9s represents receipts. And so this South Node in the 11th, if there's something that you really wanted to study, if there's something that you really thought, you know, I would like to go and learn this at a really deep level, you may find that you start carving out time in your day-to-day to really build a solid understanding and or practice around something in that Leonine 11th house for you. It could be that you start building a much more spiritual pathway to bring your work and your internal world together in some way. I'm super lucky, right? It's not wasted on me that I'm so lucky that the work that I do has a natural spiritual element built into it. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of really brilliant readers that are very technical that don't have any spirituality at all, and I've seen them do really good readings. For me personally, because it's astrology, it's tarot, it's numerology, it's energy work, you know, I don't have to do anything, but it's woven into what I do in the way that I do it. But I feel like for you guys, this is going to be that you connect with somebody, that 11th house, those benefactors, those spiritual people and or guides, mentors, coaches, benefactors that step in to say, let's bring a more spiritual, a more maybe even faith-based outlook, or maybe even just a more harmonious way of working that doesn't sap the joy or the life out of you. All right, so really, really interesting stuff here. So I'm going to switch decks now because that one seems to be throwing up too many of the same cards. So for the Scorpios, for you guys, this is happening in the 4th and the 10th house axis. Now, this is a really interesting axis of houses because it's what we call angular houses, right? So if you saw the beginning of the video, I did mention, or at the beginning of the sign breakdown, I did mention that when something happens in the 1st, the 4th, the 7th, or the 10th, these are what we call the angular houses. And when we have transits taking place in those angular houses, they tend to hit our lives or show up in our lives in very real world, very tangible, sort of noticeable ways. So you've got this North Node energy here in the sign of Aquarius in the 4th house. This can bring an expansion of the home. It could bring a different or a foreign element, right? An Aquarian element into your home. This could be where you get really, really obsessed with making your home as much of a smart home as you possibly can. I can't remember what era it was that I was watching, but I did see this thing where this guy was saying, like, basically, there's going to be like a new round of refrigerators that come. So like you will stock it, you'll tell it what's in there, and then it will like say to you like, oh, by the way, you're running low on milk. And rather than just tell you that you're running low on milk, it will put it on your shopping list, and then it will order that shopping list when it gets to the level or whatever that you set, right? So when you say like, when we're out of all of these and we're up to, I don't know, 60 or 70 pounds worth of shopping, then put the order in with, your Tesco's or Sainsbury's or whatever. And it will literally do, like, you program it and it will just do all of that. That's just your fridge, right? So imagine where the world is going. What does the world look like once those things have really been taken off of the the human sort of necessity list? How much time are we going? Like, don't get me wrong. I understand all of the stuff around AI, etc., and all the rest of it. I totally do. But imagine how much time we're going to be able to claw back when things like that are no longer a problem or an issue for us, right? Granted, there's a lot of steps that need to happen before we get to that world. Like, I don't know, making sure that everybody has somewhere to fucking live. Like, I'm going to try not to get on my soapbox, but Scorpio, the fact that you've got this North Node in the 4th house, I think is not only going to enhance your home and your living situation, it's also going to see you really looking at how you bring more technology into your home, how you make your home smarter, more efficient, how you make it kinder to the environment. This could see you and it's not just the home that changes or expands with the North Node. This can also be that the family expands at this time. So for some of you, maybe you get into a relationship with somebody that's got children. Maybe you and your significant other end up having children. Maybe it's Uranus / Saturnian energy. So maybe you have a parent come and move into your home. Now, if you've been with me long enough, you know, providing they're not absolutely, excuse my language, but fucking toxic human beings, I think this is something that has really contributed to the breakdown of society. So it used to be that when your parents got to a certain age, they would sell their home, they would consolidate their resources, they'd pass some on to the kids, they'd pass some on to, and then keep the rest for themselves. But they would move into your home, right? And you would look after your parents until their time came. And the reason I think that we've had a breakdown in society is because that person has lived more life than you. That person can school you, support you, they can look after your children, they can impart knowledge and wisdom to your children that you do not have because you haven't lived as long as they have or had any of their experiences. And it just creates a much tighter bond or knit of a relationship between the family. And yet now, certainly here in the UK, they just shove them in a care home and you kind of wither away there. And I think that's really contributed to, like, I remember seeing a post, and I tell you, it really took me back. So it was a post of a basket, and it had a bunch of green beans in it. And it said, the problem is that you guys weren't raised where grandmothers sat round the table and popped these open together, and it shows. And it literally, like, oh my gosh, it gave me goosebumps because it threw me right back to a time where I literally sat on my mum's knee at the dining table. There was my nan, there was my great nan, there was my sister, there was me, there was my mum, and they were all obviously talking about stuff that was way over my head. I didn't really care what it was, but it took me back to that memory, right? And it really, I think it shows. So you could have a parent move into your home, providing the relationship is good. I'm not ignorant to the fact that not every relationship with your parents or a parental figure is positive. And that's just the truth of the situation. It's a sad truth, but it is also a truth. The 4th house is also your ancestry and your roots. You could go on a quest now to discover, who am I? Who am I really? Who was my great-great-grandmother? Who was my great-great-great-great-grandfather? Who am I descended from? What lineages, what DNA, what heritage sings within my blood? This could be a time where you really start to get interested in that. And it could also be, it's Aquarius in the 4th house. There could be some kind of co-living that comes up that you feel sort of really passionate about. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you've got the South Node in the sign of Leo in the 10th house. Whatever legacy in the world you have had or have felt drawn to creating, whatever legacy or decision you made, for the last 18 plus years, if you're old enough, more than that, if you're old enough, like, this could be where you start saying, okay, the legacy that I've built, the social status that I have, the outlook that I have, the, public persona that I've built for myself, that needs to change now, right? It no longer feels like who I am, and more importantly, it's no longer who or what I want to be known for. This is where I want to step away from this, and I really want to look into doing things in a very different kind of way. So I like this. I mean, it's also because the 10th house is authority figures. So, you know, a touch wood, I hope I'm wrong. It's quite possible that there could be maybe clashes with an authority figure or a parental figure. It could also be, because remember, you as Scorpio are the first house, and so at some point in the next 18 months these nodes are going to square your ascendant, your sun, or your moon, whichever one you have there, and if you've got placements in Taurus, it's going to square those as well. And so there's a driver for change here across the major sectors of your life, but for you this is across the 4th house 10th house axis. Not only is this a parental axis, but it also happens to be one that's about your roots, your foundation and ancestry, as well as your social status, public persona, and legacy out in the world. So there's lots going on here. Now, for your cards, Scorpio, you have, for the North Node in that 4th house, you've got shut the front door, right? So I've literally just shuffled this whole deck, and then again, the Temperance card has come out. So Temperance is about balance, it's about healing. The fact that the Aquarius energy, whatever house it's in for you, actually represents the collective. I think maybe this is trying to tell us that the collective is going to go through a collective healing in some way. But for you personally, you've got Temperance, you've got the Hermit card, and you've got the Hanged Man. So of all of the signs so far, yours is the only one that's had a triple hitter of major arcana energy in for the North Node. And so that North Node in the 4th house, for me, this really speaks to this idea that you are reaching a greater level of self-knowledge and gnosis. It also suggests to me that you're starting to balance out your needs versus other people's. And it also tells me that you are healing your past, or maybe even your childhood, by really examining who it has turned you into, and where it is that you've maybe had to stand alone, or where it is that you've maybe had to, or felt like you were ostracized from the family. This could see you really mending that, right? Like you could really start to now find your place within your familial ties. Now, this happened to me just recently, and I thought about it and I was like, you know, for a moment I got really sad, and then I thought about it and I was like, well, no, it's sad because this couldn't happen sooner, but think about all of the steps that had to take place internally before you were able to feel more at home within the group of your family and your people. And sometimes that's how it has to happen, right? Sometimes another way that you could see this, and this is a shout out to a very special person out there, you will know who you are as soon as I say what I say. Maybe you are about to become the matriarch now. Maybe you are about to become the patriarch now. So matriarch, patriarch, vatriarch, whatever it is that you choose, right? By the way, I coined that phrase in 2023. So if anyone ever tries to say vatriarch, I did it first. But yeah, this could be the time where you are stepping into that role now. So the South Node in the 10th house, you've got the King of Pentacles, you've got the Ace of Wands, I love this for you, and the Four of Swords. Not only do I think your career is going to continue to grow at this time, I just think that the financial commitment and grounding that you've created for yourself is going to amplify. And I think this is going to be a time where you actually start to enjoy the work that you do, to a point where you're able to say, okay, when I'm at work and I'm on. When I'm out of work, I'm out of work. And it's like, really will say, I think for a lot of you, you might take an extended sort of break or holiday. Maybe some of you even take a sabbatical over the course of the next year. It's very, very possible. Either which way, I think even with the South Node in the 10th, I think you're getting rid of all of the blockages or the hold-ups that you had before, to really allowing yourself to go as far as you can possibly go in your field, in your arena, in your company, etc. Love this energy for you though. Really love this energy for you. So for the Sagittarius, let's move this forward. All right, so Saggies, for you, this energy is taking place in the 3rd and the 9th houses, right? But the difference between you and Gemini is this North Node is going to be in the 3rd house, and the South Node is going to be in the 9th house. And so what does this mean? it means that your local neighborhood, your, like, usually, because Sagittarius, even though the house and the sign are not the same thing, you do have an affinity with the ninth house, right? It's expansive, it's about reaching lots of people, broadening your horizons, doing things, you know, in big ways or in ways that are very different. Whereas this North Node in the third house means that your local environment, your local neighborhood, the place that surrounds when you step outside of your door and you think neighborhood, that's your third house. That North Node and eclipses in the third house can absolutely change your living situation. Eclipses in the fourth can do it as well, but eclipses in the third will usually change where you live because it's changing your location, it's changing your environment. And so this North Node in the third house, you might suddenly really feel like, I've got something to say, I need to get it out there. The third house is content creation, so you might start really getting into it. You might start really getting into creating some kind of big, broad campaign. You might start really leaning into commercial activities like sales or writing or blogs or, you know, content creation, whether that's for you or on behalf of somebody else or even just helping somebody else do it remains to be seen. The third house can also be your siblings. And so it's quite possible, actually, that a sibling could help you with this. Maybe you start a podcast with another person. Maybe you start some sort of, maybe you decide to go down the Substack route. Maybe you just, and oh my God, shout out to my bloody brother from another mother across the pond. I have a wonderful friend called Ari Hoflack. I'm going to be sharing him with you guys very, very soon. So please stay tuned because I think you guys are going to love him. Ari is a wonderful, gentle giant. He is hilarious. And I just can't say enough good stuff about him. But what I will say is this North Node, and he's actually on Substack. That's why I went down that route. So this could be that you really start dedicating more time to how you're writing, how you're sharing yourself with the world, but on the micro level. Because remember, the North Node is in the third house. So this is doing the content creation. It's writing the thing, creating the thing. It's making the thing. It's communicating with different people. It's the podcasts, it's the interviews, it's the websites, it's the, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And then you've got this South Node in the ninth house. And so my feeling behind this is, the South Node doesn't say that your YouTube channel is going to tank. It doesn't say that you're not going to be able to get the word out. What it says is, unless it is really you creating something, North Node in Aquarius in the third, creating content, communicating things, using your voice, speaking up, sharing ideas, creating concepts, unless they are coming from the heart, unless they are a true, authentic expression of who you actually are, it's not going to go anywhere. People don't want more fluff. They don't want AI slop. They don't want somebody that doesn't really give a shit but's just trying to sell them something. They want real. They want connection. They want to know that, yes, you know what, I follow you and you're out there creating content and writing books and doing all of these things, but actually you have a heart and you're human just like me. That's what people want now. It's what people are going to crave more and more of. I mean, Pluto's barely even scratched the surface of Aquarius yet, and it is, boy, whew, okay, all right. The other thing is that South Node in the ninth can really see you eliminating and releasing belief systems, religious structures, ideas, ideologies, or even just personal philosophies that have held you back. And you look at them and you kind of say like, wow, I really identified with this once upon a time. And when I really examine it and I pull it apart, it doesn't actually support who I want to be. It doesn't connect me to the people that I really feel like I'm here to connect with and interact with. Like, there's so many things that this South Node in the ninth can do. I do think that it might be a little tougher to travel at this time, and it may be because, remember, the South Node is deeply spiritual. So you might sort of say, you know what, I don't need to go and sit on a beach and drink pina coladas all day. That's what Raph will be doing. I'm showing my age now. Pina coladas, nobody even drinks those anymore. Nowadays it'd be like a deconstructive pina colada. Sometimes I worry about myself. It may be that you start leaning into trips that are going to broaden your horizons and your spiritual outlook, places and spaces and people that are going to enrich and nourish your life. If you've got any and all legal matters and situations that have really been draining, or hard work, or have just really wrung you out in some way, this could absolutely go a long way to bringing that to a satisfactory close or end, and that could be wonderful for you. So for your cards, let's have a look. For the North Node, you've got the Knight of Wands, we love that. You've got the Lover's card, we love that, and the Five of Swords. I think, Sagittarius, this is about you really finding your voice. Now, a lot of people are hearing me say that and they're like, what? Finding my voice? Sagittarius is always speaking up. Sagittarius is very outspoken and is a trendsetter and a truth go-getter and all the rest of it. They absolutely are. Sagittarius communicates very well, but it's usually quite blunt, and sometimes to the point where, like, I'm an Aquarius, so for me, I'm like, go Saggy, go Sag. I'm in the background beefing them up, like bigging them up, hyping them up, and everyone's like, why are you making it worse? But that's because I'm an Aquarius. I like it that way. I can handle it that way, right? Not everybody can, does, or will. And so I think this is you finding a creative stride that builds connections and bridges in your local area in order for you to Five of Swords, which means rather than fighting the environment or the arena that you're in, you're going to find the right people to connect with so that you can fight a battle together. And I love this for you, right? I think for a lot of you, this is going to be connecting to that sister from another mister, brother from another mother, all that kind of stuff. And it's going to see you not only using your voice in a way to there's something here, that Five of Swords with the Lover's card and the Knight of Wands, like there is something that you are like, it's like, I'm going to fucking tear this damn thing down brick by brick. But rather than doing it in the usual sort of Saggy as a Clydesdale. Now, if you know what a Clydesdale is, it's a very big horse, right? These things are majestic, right? Like, I mean, I've only ever seen them on screen. I can't say that I've seen one in person, but I never forget the first time I ever saw one. I was 8 years old, and I remember just being like awed at the TV because they had a guy, he was stood next to it, and he was like, this is a normal house, this is a normal horse, and this is a Clydesdale. And this thing, like, it just towered over him. This is like a huge, majestic creature. You can be quite intimidating, Saggies, right? And that bluntness, that directness, that fight, right? I always say this to people, like, it's a fire sign, hello. Fire doesn't say like, oh, I'm just going to warm you a little bit. If you touch the fire, it will burn you. Yes, if you harness it, it will cook your food and all the rest of it. But if you leave it alone or you let it do its own thing, honey, that's going to burn your house down, okay? There's a reason we keep it contained. Not everyone's can receive it that way, and so it feels to me like you're connecting with the right people that are going to show you how to shape that voice, to how to share what you're sharing, and it just takes everything to a whole new level. So for your South Node, you've got the Ten of Swords, you've got the Ten of Pentacles, wow, and the Page of Pentacles. So 2 tens represents change, and it usually represents a big change at that. You've got the Ten of Swords, which means that this South Node in the 9th house, it really is Ten of Swords with the Ten of Pentacles. Some belief system structure, something that was imposed on you by a parent or a grandparent, or the lineage or the heritage that comes from the grandparent, is now about to come to an end. And look, right, with that Page of Pentacles that comes next, it's like, that was who I was because that's what was handed down to me when I was unable to make a decision for myself. And now I'm going to end that legacy of pain, trauma, challenge, issue, heartache, all the rest of it. And I'm going to start a new tradition that is built on beliefs and structures and philosophies that absolutely feed my soul. And I'm going to turn this into the way that I shine. Remember, the 9th house is Leo for you, and Leo in the chart is where we're born to shine. Ninth house is publishing, broadcasting, TV, film, etc. All of those things. It's your YouTube channels, it's your blogs, it's your books. But the third house is you creating those things and using your voice. Rather than just making damn sure that you're heard, the quality of what your words are saying are really going to ring true from here on in. I'm so excited for you guys for this. So for the Capricorns, way to go, Caprico. Sorry, everyone knows I love my Cappies. Who was it? I can't remember. Someone in the comments was like, "Oh, you're just biased because you love Capricorns," and I was like, "You damn right, bitch." You know, like, not even gonna hide it. Not even gonna hide it. All right, so for you guys, this is an eclipse cycle and the nodal shift into the 2nd and the 8th houses. I mean, lucky you, right? So first things first, obviously you've got Pluto in the 2nd. Pluto means money, Pluto means wealth, Pluto means rich. The word Pluto comes from plusis or plusius, which literally means wealth, right? Wealth, wealthy. A surplus, right? More than you know. So it can be a really abundant planet, but Pluto cares why you want the money. It doesn't care how much you want. It really doesn't, right? Pluto is not adverse to giving wealth. Its name literally, you know, stems from the word wealth, but it cares why you want that wealth, right? You got to be really honest when you're approaching Pluto with anything. You come from come correct or don't come at all, right? Which is, in my humble opinion, why I think Pluto in Capricorn really made such a, you know, right? Because Capricorn is the same. Come correct or don't come at all. Now, this this North Node transit moving through your 2nd house, this is a voracious hunger. It is an excitement, it's an expansion, it's a fated karmic move towards creating more. It wants more, it needs more, it creates more. It's going to drive you to get more out of what you have. The 2nd house being your self-esteem, your self-worth, and your values. The 2nd house is your teeth, any and all. Like, I mean, if you need any dental work done, this is the time to start getting that done and getting it wrapped up. If you need any, you know, reconstructive surgery or anything like that, and because it's Aquarius in the 2nd house, maybe find new cutting edge ways of dentistry and or oral care. Start looking at what some of the revolutionary stuff is that's never been done before. Don't go obviously super experimental if it's chemicals and stuff, but if it's proven and there's scientific backing and stuff, be okay with that. Get the new toothbrush that does, you know, whatever or whatever. Get the new dental floss that's got, you know, anti-fungal technology, or I don't know, whatever. I'm just saying stuff now for saying stuff. But you get my point, right? Or maybe go to get one of those patches to see if it can regrow your tooth. Like all of this stuff. Now, another way that you can see this is the 2nd house is your finances, your savings, it's also your possessions. And so this North Node could absolutely see you wanting to accumulate more money, wanting to accumulate more funds, more resources to grow your savings pot. You've absolutely got the ability to do this over the next 18 months. This could also see you really focused on creating a lot more financial security and stability for yourself. It is Aquarius energy. It's a fixed sign, so it likes that steady state. And this would be a good time to start looking at what future ideas, inventions, emerging markets, stocks, etc. can I invest in? I mean, you know, there's that guy Ramit Sethi. I don't know if you know him. He's the finance guru. He made his money from Amazon. He was lucky enough, I think he was given like a set amount of money or whatever, and he bought stock in Amazon, and everyone was telling him like, no, like don't bother, it's going to fold, it's going to fold, it's going to fold. And he never listened. Multi-millionaire, right? Because he's found a future stock, invested heavily in it, and just waited. And then boom, right? It blew up, and look at that. And it doesn't hurt the fact that this guy's a financial whiz as well. So he really knows his stuff. This North Node, and so one of the things that I was saying, because I've just come out of a South Node in the 2nd house transit, And it really helped me remove any broken ideas about my self-worth and my value and what I bring to the table. Whereas this North Node is going to give you a voracious hunger to really understand what your worth is. What is my value? What is my worth? What do I have that is worthy, right? Aside from the fact that you already are before you've even gone anywhere, before you add your name, before you add your job title, your savings, your title, your kids, your house, your car, fuck all, like, not your kids obviously, but do you know what I mean? Like, fuck all of that. You are worthy before you add anything to who you are. Just starting from having a body, being alive here in the world, you are worthy. Now add to that, right? This North Node is going to give you a hunger, a drive to really understand, who am I? And what do I bring to the table? What innate talents and skills and blessings and abundance and abilities do I have that are truly worth something? That South Node in the 8th house, so this is a little more tricky, right? The 8th house is other people's money. So if the 2nd house is my money, then the 8th house is our money. So if you're partnered, married, or in a long-term commitment, that South Node, if you have joint finances and resources, they could be eroded at this time. This could be where, and it doesn't have to be that you and a partner are splitting up. It could quite literally just be where your partner and you decide to take your financial dealings in very different ways. It could be that you start sort of looking at things and saying, okay, like, I want to look at my pension. I want to look at the longevity of my money. I want to look at stocks, shares, and investments in a different way. You could be liquidizing these things. You could be getting rid of them. For some of you, you might be changing pension pots, maybe changing providers. This is the South Node in the 8th as well. So look, there's a possibility that over the next 18 months an inheritance could come in. With the South Node being here though, it does suggest that there could be some potential challenges or issues around such a thing. So I do want you to be sort of mindful and aware that you know, there's a potential for this to be challenging. All right, so just keep that in mind. And I would say when it comes to any and all paperwork, cross your T's, dot your I's now, so that it doesn't become a problem later on. Another thing with the 8th house, because the South Node is deeply spiritual, it's very mystical as well, right? It enhances the intuition. The 8th house is your psychic and spiritual antenna. The 8th house is the occult. It's astrology, your tarot, your numerology. If there were ever a time for you to learn how to use these things or begin using them properly, instead of sort of dabbling here, there, and everywhere, maybe you're taking Raphy's tarot course, who knows? This could absolutely be a time for that. It could also be a time where you are starting to alleviate and remove whatever ideas around secrets are. This might be a time where secrets could come to light, and it could also be a time where you as Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising stand up and you say, you know what, I'm done with the secrets. I'm no longer holding this in. I'm no longer keeping this, you know, I'm not keeping my mouth shut anymore. I'm going to say what I mean, as if you ever needed to tell a Capricorn to open their mouths. I already said I love you. Right? But really, this could absolutely be there. It could also be where you are releasing somebody else's ideas around how you see money, how you see resources. This could be a time where, you know, some kind of secret could come up. And I hate to say it, and I really hope I'm wrong, it's possible that a financial secret could come to life and it could just see you like, I cannot fucking believe this is happening. Finally, because the 8th house is the taboo, it's the sex and sensual, it's the primal sector, it's wounds, crises, fears. These are all things that you could be letting go of now. You could be saying, you know what, I don't just want that hit it and quit it. I don't just want that wham bam, thank you man. I want deep, tantric, sensual, sexual connection, right? I want something more than just that, yeah, it was, you know, a great half an hour or whatever. This could also see you, because the 8th house is wounds, crises, and traumas, this could see you really doing the internal work to free yourself of some kind of challenge or issue on that deep sort of psychological level. It's a great time to do therapy, but if you're going down that route, don't just sit on the couch for the sake of sitting on the couch. do the work, right? And what I mean by this is, you know, I'm not talking about going in like, well, I went to the counselling and I cried today. That's not the work, right? Doing the work when it comes to counselling and therapy means that you don't constantly have to be on the couch for the rest of your life. It means that you can really rid yourself of the feelings around the thoughts so that they no longer control you, all right? Like, do the work, Capricorn. That's all I'm going to say on that front. So for your cards for this transit, for the North Node in that second house, you've got the Queen of Pentacles, love to see it, the Four of Cups, and the Ace of Cups. So the Queen of Pentacles, if you've been with me long enough, you know I've said this. The Queen of Pentacles has a special power. Her special power is you could give her a tenner and she'd turn it, like a tenner is colloquialism for a £10 note here in the UK. So you could give her a tenner and she'll come back to you and say, here's 100 grand. That's her ability. She has this prolific power to turn something more, to turn something that you give her into more. Because she's coming up here with the Four of Cups and the Ace of Cups, what this tells me is there's that North Node in the second house is expanding your money and your resources, but also your drive to create more financial stability and abundance. And that Four of Cups is saying, as soon as you try to do this, you're going to come up against a buffer, an issue, a problem, a person, a situation, a belief, something that you are emotionally tied to will show up as an impediment. And the first thing that I think that's going to do for you is going to make you go, right, you are the block to my wealth. That has to go. And that Ace of Cups suggests that you will do this in a way that is really warm and positive because your heart is open in a way that maybe it hasn't been up until now. Either which way, I'm totally here for this. For your South Node in the 8th house, you've got the 8 of Wands, the Four of Wands, interesting, and the 8 of Swords. 2 8s is new knowledge. So I do think a lot of you will study something that you really didn't expect to study. I think this is going to come through your work or your profession. I think a lot of you will have some very good news over a property matter over the course of the next 18 months as well. I think when it comes to home, property, living situation, especially if you are connected with or to someone from foreign lands, distant shores. Now, another way that you could see this, because it is the South Node in the 8th house, and it's funny, right, because you've got these 2 8s here. It feels to me like this is where you're going to say, right, I know now what is keeping me stuck. I know what situations, I know what thoughts, I know what feelings, I know what crises, what wounds, what traumas from my past. I know what is in the way of me becoming who or what I truly know I have the ability to become. And once you click on that, that South Node is going to go to work for you. And I promise you, I've seen this work in my own life as well. Once you really get the message of the South Node, it's like a toilet flush. Things just move really quick, like, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that happened. All right, so Aquarius, my sun sign brothers and sisters. For you guys, oh, 1 second, let me just pop these back in the deck. For you guys, this is taking place in your first house, which is where you've got the North Node, and your 7th house, which is where you've got the South Node, right? So this is really interesting. It's really potent in so many ways, right? One, because remember, this first house, 7th house axis is what? It's so the first house is me, 7th house is we. What's really important to remember here with this combination is that these are angular houses. Whenever we have transits moving through the angular houses, we absolutely feel these on a very visceral, very tangible, very real level. You've got the North Node in the first house. You've got the North Node, whether this is your sun, moon, or ascendant, especially though for you ascendant Aquarians, this is the North Node in the first house. And although this, you know, Aquarius is the sign of the group and the community and all the rest of it, this is the first house. It's your personality, it's your body, it's your outlook, it's the meat suit that you navigate the world in. your personal way of stepping forward. It's your way of connecting to the world. It's about you. It's about your outlook. It's about your persona. It's also about the self that you project out to the world. And so the North Node moving through this place means that you will be more concerned with yourself, with your own endeavors, what you want for yourself just because you want it, what you desire to create for yourself, who you want to be known as, how you want to present yourself to the world. This could absolutely coincide with a glow up, a changing of how you dress, how you speak, how you move, how you carry yourself through the world. This could also be an amplification point of you in particular, which means that you're going to be more visible. It means that people are going to be more attracted to you. It means that people are going to see you that much more, because the North Node is amplifying your presence. It's amplifying your personality and your persona. So I love this for you. It's also going to see you seeing yourself differently. It's going to see you understanding that finally your Aquarian way of being, of just existing, is absolutely the thing to celebrate, is absolutely the thing to know and be so happy and proud to be, right? That South Node then in the opposite sign of Leo, in your 7th house of partnerships, relationships, connections, collaborations, contracts that you sign, your open enemies, which is your competitors, clients, if you work in a client facing role or work of some sort, like obviously with what I do, 7th house is your clients. You could be getting, so the quantity of clients will get smaller, but the caliber and the quality of them will get more powerful, more, maybe wealthier even as well. That's possible. But remember, the South Node being more spiritual, you could start forming more spiritual connections, more spiritual bonds. You could start really interacting with people that make you feel so much more like, you connect with them and you're like, you know what, this is my people. This is somebody that I really can rock it and kick it with. This is somebody that I really understand at a very deep level. If you're single, it's quite possible that over the course of the next year, you meet somebody who really forces you to look at who you are in relationships, how you are in relationships, and who you want to be. It could see you getting really serious and honest and open about what you're trying to create in your relationships, and whether that is or isn't healthy or conducive to the kinds of relationships, connections, commitments, and contracts that you actually want. It's like, the other thing is as well, because that South Node in the 7th, where you say like, I want this kind of relationship, I want this kind of partner, I want this kind of business partner, professional partner, platonic partner, all of that. This is where the universe is effectively saying to you, you need to be about it. You need to show up in a way that is true, that is authentic, that is honest. You need to show up in a way that really mirrors or reflects what you're actually saying you want from those things. This is where you have to get really not only clear on it, but really honest about it, and honest about how you show up. And I said this, I think it was for the Leos, right? Because Leo has this same axis of eclipses, but they're flipped. And so what I said to them was, a lot of the time when people want a relationship, or they're like, oh, I've been single long enough, I'm really ready now, what they mean is they want somebody to slot into the life that they have, right? So you speak to them and they're like, oh, I haven't got any time, I haven't got this, and it's like, okay, well, so where exactly is a partner supposed to fit in all of that? Whether it's personal, professional, platonic, business, all of the things. Like, how exactly is somebody supposed to fit or slot into the life that you currently have? Where are you making space? Like, if you're currently saying like, oh, I haven't got time to do anything, or no, my business is my priority, or my career is my priority, or I don't know, like whatever it is, right? If you currently don't have any time, where exactly does somebody that you're going to love and care for and cherish more than anybody else apart from your kids, where does that person fit into that? Do you just want them to come alive when you decide like, oh, I've got a spare hour now between work, gym, It doesn't work that way, right? And so that South Node is really going to say to you, what is your relationship style? Where do you create time, space, energy, effort for a significant other? Do you even do those things? And more importantly, do you reflect the kind of person that you are trying to draw in for yourself? Because if you don't, how exactly are you planning to hold on to that person once you've manifested them into your world? These are the sorts of questions that are going to be asked over the next 18 months. So your cards, my dear Aquarius, for the North Node in that first house, you've got the Page of Cups, you've got the 9 of Pentacles, and you have the 10 of Cups. So these are absolutely beautiful cards, right? This is you understanding what you've worked for, what you've built. This is you stepping into your glow up era. This is you stepping into being able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. This is you examining and searching your heart and your feelings and deciding what you're going to fill yourself with now. Now, this reminds me of, this Page of Cups always reminds me of this. When I was younger, when I was at school, when I was 14, I'll never forget, my drama teacher said, because one day he saw in my bag, I had all these books about witchcraft and stuff, like, but I started early. And he saw them, and he, like, when everybody had gone, he kind of pulled me to the side and he was like, that stuff can be a little bit dangerous and and anyway. And I said to him, well, I was raised Catholic. I'm stepping away from that now, and this feels like sort of the path that might sort of feel a bit more open to me. And he said, Raph, everybody has a godly shaped hole within them, and if they don't fill it with something, it will be filled with anything, right? And it really, really stuck with me. And whenever I see this Page of Cups, it always reminds me of that. So this North Node transit, I think, is you really searching the depths of your soul and your psyche and your person to understand your body and your outlook, but also to enjoy the life and the labor and the fruits of the labor that you have built for yourself. I think this North Node moving through your sign, Aquarius, is going to bring you a greater sense of being at home in your body, maybe more than ever, right? So this next 18 months can be beautiful. So then the South Node in the sign of Leo, you've got the Sun card, of course you do, in the 7th house. You've got the 7 of Pentacles, and you've got the World card. So this basically says, not only are and if you're partnered or married or in a long-term commitment already, this tells me that the relationship is going to go from strength to strength, because there's something that you and your significant other are working on together as a collective, where you're building something that really goes beyond you and into the realm of some kind of community. What it also tells me is that Sun card with the 7 of Pentacles always says the work that you do here is absolutely worth the hard work that you do here, that you will be expected to do here, especially with the World card, will absolutely yield incredible results that potentially connect you to foreign places, different lands and connections, or maybe even people that you never expected to connect with, because they're coming from a place of both of you understanding what it took to build this, whatever this might be. All right, absolutely stunning, Aquarius. I'm so happy for you. What beautiful cards. You really couldn't ask for much more, right? So for the Pisces among you, last but by no means ever least, this North Node, South Node eclipse cycle, and the nodes in your chart are going to be the North Node in the sign of Aquarius is in your 12th house. The South Node is in the sign of Leo in your 6th house. So the 6th house, 12th house is what we call the health axis. So the 12th house is your mental and spiritual health and vitality, whereas the 6th house would be your physical health and vitality. All right. So the North Node in the 12th, right? This is where you are going to be leaning into your spirituality. It's going to see you really powerfully understanding your dream world and your dreamscape. I mean, the North Node in the 12th house means that the sleep that you get over the next 18 months, if you've had problems or issues with this, it can see you not only enjoying or enhancing the sleep that you have, but it can see you really starting to build a good solid sleep practice, right? You might find that you want or just need to sleep more. And I would trust that, since the 12th house is also your dreams. It's the unconscious realm. It's the way that you sort of, I always say that the 12th house in the chart is the space in which the door to the other side resides within your chart. The 12th house is the intangible house. Now, that being said, the 12th house is a very psychic, very spiritual place. It's about retreating from the world. You may need that more over the next 18 months. You may need more time alone, more time away from crowds or big groups, more time in places of sanctuary or worship, more time in places, I mean, it's Aquarius, so maybe even places that are high vantage point or distance, you know, that allow you to breathe more deeply. The 12th house is also the house of self-undoing and or hidden enemies. Sometimes the hidden enemies are the call that's coming from inside the house. So that's something that you need to be aware of, because the North Node is a voracious hunger, and it also represents an amplification. So where it is that you have or do habits or patterns or, you know, addictions, etc., this can really amplify those things. Now, your work here is to understand why you do these things. Why do you feel the need to drink? Why do you feel the need to escape? Why do you feel the need to smoke? Why are you doing these things that are in some way, shape or form detrimental to you? Yes, they're a coping mechanism. Yes, they're a way of you escaping. But why are you doing it? Looking for the root cause is really what's going to help you here. Your foresight and your vision, your psychic awareness, antenna, prophetic dreams, all of that stuff can absolutely amplify at this time. Another way that you could see this as well would be your the 12th house also represents you know, hospitals, ashrams, etc. So as I say, places of spirituality and or retreat. And the North Node could see you really driving towards creating a much greater sense of connection to your ancestors, to your spirit guides, to the spirit realm in some way, shape or form. It can be all of that. Now, the other thing is the 12th house is also said to be the house of expenses. And I can tell you, right, having had Jupiter move through my 12th over the last year, trust me, honey, like 12th house expense stuff can be real. All right. So just keep that in mind. But it could be for a really positive reason. So, you know, keep that in mind. Now, the South Node in your 6th house, well, the 6th house is your physical health and vitality. It's how you maintain the things in your life that you desire to keep. It's also your work, the daily grind, right? And so this could be that you start to, it could be that things get a lot easier at work. Remember, the South Node is a draining point, but it's also a very spiritual energy that's a launching pad. So this could see you delegating more work. It's Leo in the 6th house, so this is where you lead, right? It could see you really being more of service, but not necessarily to everything and everyone. But remember, the South Node is about quality versus quantity. So you could be working less but more intensely. You could be making more money, but you have fewer clients, right? There's a concentration here in some regard. That South Node here as well, because the 6th house is your physical health and vitality. And I've noticed that the South Node moving through the 1st and the 6th, just like the North Node or Jupiter in the 1st or the 6th, will create weight gain. The South Node moving through the 6th can make it easier for you to lose weight or to trim down. It could also make it easier for you to spiritually connect to your creativity. It's Leo after all. It could see you focusing more on the things that you want to create. It could see you focusing more on where it is that you want to take your life in a creative sense. It could see you getting really serious about creating health habits, patterns and routines, or even traditions that are, you know, more aligned with where you want to go versus where you've been. The 6th house being all of those things, and the South Node being the draining point, where maybe you've always believed, like, you know, if I eat after a certain time, you know, that means I'm going to gain weight. Well, maybe you start debunking those things now. Maybe you start getting rid of or releasing habits and practices that are actually not good for you or are built on a belief that you no longer resonate with. The 6th house is things like rent, mortgages, houses, it's the paying of them, right? The sixth house is the bills. It's the things that are burdens to us. So if you have employees, you could be getting rid of some employees now. That could be people going out of the door. If you run your own business, maybe you're streamlining some of the processes and actually there are people that you don't need anymore. It could also be because the sixth house is an enemy's house as well as the 12th house being hidden enemies, right? So both of these are enemy axes, and so you do need to watch out for that. If you have pets, the next 18 months is a time where you need to look after your fur babies. Not only their physical health and vitality, but I've seen the South Node move through the 6th, represent everything from, I don't want to say it, but the heavier end of the spectrum with pets right through to lost pets. And with the South Node, once they're lost, I very rarely know that they come back. So this is something to keep an eye on. And as I say, the sixth house is your daily grind in your work, your habits, patterns, routines, and your sense of precision or organization. It's also an eliminative space, right? Because the sixth house is the digestion. So being kind to your digestive system over the course of this next 18 months and getting really clear on what foods enhance your sleep and your psychic ability and what foods wreak havoc with your digestive system is absolutely a task that you want to dedicate time, effort, and energy to. Finally, your cards for this transit. So Aquarius, that North Node, or should I say Pisces, that Aquarius North Node, you've got the 8 of Pentacles, you've got the Ace of Swords, and you've got the Ace of Cups. So 2 aces represents, it can represent trickery. This is, after all, the 12th house, a house known to be a house of enemies. And you've got this with the 8 of Pentacles. When it comes to your work, your profession, and your career, this are next 18 months. And this is not every single day, right? Like sometimes when you say this to people, they're like, oh my God, it's going to be awful. It's not that. But over the next 18 months, choose your allies wisely when it comes to your career, when it comes to your work. Choose your battles wisely when it comes to your career or your work. There could absolutely be some trickery or some hidden stuff or shit going on behind your back that maybe you're not aware of. And remember, the North Node is in the 12th, so it's amplifying these things. That said, the North Node is somewhat more benefic, so it's possible that it could be revealing these things as well. So that's something to consider. Now, on the positive side of it, the work that you do around your mental and emotional and spiritual health at this time will absolutely yield incredible results if you do the work. All right, and I mean really do the work. Now, for your South Node in the sign of Leo, you've got the Lovers, and this is in your 6th house. You've got the Lovers, you've got the World, and you've got the 10 of Swords. So not only are you eliminating certain people, but you are really starting to, because the 6th house is the environments that we find ourselves in. This, to me, looks like you're really starting to clear those up. I would not be surprised, even though it's not a 3rd or 4th house transit, I would not be surprised with this combination of cards to find out that some of you are moving, changing location, and quite possibly for some of you, this could be an international move. This could be like a long distance, I'm going to a completely different country kind of move. It also tells me that when it comes to partnerships, connections, collaborations, and interactions of a professional nature, some of these will have run their course naturally, and it looks like some of them could be coming to an end. I would also not be surprised to find out that, on the heavier end of the spectrum, and I hope I'm wrong, but there could be in the workplace or even people that you consider a part of your day-to-day experience, somebody could pass away, and this could be something that's really felt. And this is why I say, I didn't want to say it with the fur babies, but as I say, the moment something happens with one of your pets, get them to the vet straight away. Don't sort of say to yourself oh, I'll leave it, I'll wait until ... Just don't do it. All right. All in all, I think a very positive set of messages for all of the signs, no matter what comes up. So I'm going to stop. Let me put this one. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make myself bigger. I do want to say thank you so much for all of your support. You guys are absolutely awesome. You're going to have to let me know in the comments how this shapes up for you. You're going to have to let me know, what shows up. What are you feeling already? What speaks to you? What resonates as it's just starting, right? I know the nodal shift has already happened. We've got eclipses and stuff to come as well. So keep me informed on all of that. If you'd like to book a personal session with me, you can do so on the links in the description box below. It's always a pleasure to meet you guys at my table. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful time of it. Keep me posted. Come back to this video over the next 18 months and keep me informed. You know I love reading you guys in the comments, because it shows us, right, what are the predictions that you got right, what are the ones that you got wrong, what are the ones that actually it kind of happened, but it happened more like this. I'm always learning on this path. I'm never going to be one of those people that says I know everything about all of this stuff, because I don't. I'm still learning, and I will always be a student of tarot. I'll always be a student of astrology. I'll always be a student of numerology, like all the things, right? But I love hearing from you guys about how these things do or don't resonate, or how they work out versus what I kind of came up with. It keeps me growing. It keeps us all guessing. And it also shows that the oracles speak. With that said, I wish you all an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a fantastic nodal shift, nodal transit, should I say, in this Leo Aquarius axis. Take care, and I'll see you soon.